Cause you won't look after my wounds. I suppose you will never regret it. I should throw myself off from the roof. Cause you fucking love it when I fade. Cause you won't look after my wounds. I suppose you will never regret it. I should throw myself off from the roof. Cause you fucking love it when I fade.
Hello everybody! It's time for the Tiny Game Tier List! How is everybody doing today? How is everyone? We've got JK with that first! Oh, I'm so excited for today's stream. I'm very, very excited! Woo-doo-doo! Oh, 6 months of gaming, 6 months of reviewing. It's all come to this.
You saved me. Why? Monkey.
Also, I'm slowly figuring out how my headset works. This is the first headset I've ever had that actually has a volume slider. I've kind of been using earbuds for the longest time. So, I haven't had a volume slider in the same way before now. So, that would be why I'm having so many sound issues. As I get used to it, I'm sure it'll get better and better. But, little steps, little steps. Also, for those of you who were not in the Discord, we do have a new follower emote. Just no time to waste. Yeah, you're right. You just did no time like the present. Immediate humiliation. Let's go. Public humiliation. Let's fucking go. Okay. Here we go. Squid head. Squid head. You know, people are gonna start thinking this is like my default thing, right? Just every time they see Shuckle, it's just like, whoa, look at that, it's a hat! Like, that's just part of Shuckle's whole thing! It's not it can be? Yeah, it can be, but it wasn't the plan! It's not the plan! Alas, alas, alas. Alas! Still, for those of you who are not in the Discord, we do have a new follower emote. So let me go ahead and, let's talk about the B tier emote here for a second. For today, it is a follower emote, which means as long as you are following, you can use this emote. Hey Zeta, welcome in. We have this B tier emote because, as we know, B tier is best tiered. We gotta announce that while we're going into the tier list. B tier is best tiered. It just is. It just is best tier. We love B tier. It is wonderful. It's going to be a follower emote for today's stream, but then it's going to become a subscriber emote moving forward. So if you like the emote, be sure to follow today, maybe subscribe come moving forward in the future if you would like to continue to use it on other channels. But I have here the tier list all set up and ready to go. I'm thinking we're probably gonna wait just a little bit longer for people to make sure people are in here before we get fully rolling, but then again, I don't have too much more to talk about, really, right? I mean, there's a lot of games, but, right, that's one thing. If you want to do this tier list as well, or provide feedback, we do have my Tiny Game Tuesday command here. I'm gonna pin the message. I think. Pin? Can I pin it? There we go. Honestly, it's probably a pretty big message, but there we go. So there we go. That's our Tiny Game Tuesday stream information. We've got the tier list itself right there that I managed to put together, and also the feedback form if you would like to provide feedback. There it is. This is my first time using pinned messages, so it's a little adjustment there, a little adjustment. Let me go ahead and make sure that the capture is working correctly, because... Hey, that looks about right, that looks about right. We've got some lovely games. We've got some lovely games, and we've got some, well, okay, the thing at the bottom here, this is going to be where the trailers are going to be showing. And, wait. I just remembered I haven't switched my music over. I was gonna play relaxing Pokemon music for this. How's that vibe? Relaxing Pokemon music, is that a good vibe? I have to stay away from, like, the lo-fi playlists, because those are often full of, music theft, and then I get blamed for it, and I'm like, no thanks. I don't want to risk that for today's stream, so we're gonna just play Pokemon music. Anywho, as you can see, our first game, the tiers are clearly mislabeled. They're not mislabeled, you know, they just go in a different order than you'd expect. You know, B tier being best tier, you want to make sure that it's the center of everything. Center of everything. That's that way everybody knows, everybody can look over and see what they're going to strive for. So that's why B tier is where it is. Alright, why don't we go ahead and start the trailers, because we are going to be covering Jubilee first. Jubilee here is a precision platformer. It is $10, and if you look at the document that I have provided, you can see links to buy these games. You can see... God. Can you tell I've been anxious? I'm just asking quick. Can you tell I've been anxious? I've kind of been anxious about this stream. Maybe a little bit. Anywho, Jubilee is about 4 to 6 hours, depending on skill and completion percentage. I think if I had actually tried to finish everything the game had to offer, it might have taken me 8 hours. Simply because I didn't finish some of the hardest parts. You can almost touch the anxiety. Getting lunch will join in a moment. Okay, Cloaked! I'll see you in just a little bit. Let's go over some of the genres here. We've got some platformer, we've got 2D, pixels, it's a precision platformer, kind of a collectathon, and open world exploration, which is a very interesting mix of things for a precision platformer to be. But as you can see in the gameplay footage, there are these gems that you can collect all over the place, and they can also point you in which direction you need to go, and it's a pretty fascinating mechanic there. Let's see here. Pros. We've got unique area zones. It's easy to learn, tough to master. Excellent OST, and there are multiple characters to choose from. So there is a beginner character and then a kind of expert character who is faster and kind of has a little bit of drift. I have not been able to beat the game as him, because I've tried. He's got a skateboard. I've tried to beat the game as him. It's really rough. It's really rough. As for the cons, though, it's got some kind of unforgiving vertical areas, which, it's not my favorite thing to have to backtrack so far because of those, but what can you do? Sometimes it's inevitable. But we've also got, like, it calls itself a Metroidvania, but it doesn't have, like, a lot of secret areas. You don't unlock more stuff, so I do think of it more as an open world game. But there is not a lot of secrets to find. I think there's, like, I want to say, like, 4 not there are the pet secrets, which I think there are 5, and then there's the lore secrets, which there are 4 of. So that's, in a world this big, that equals, you know, like, 9 secrets, which is not a lot, all things considered. So if you're looking for a game that has a lot of hidden nooks and crannies, this is not necessarily the game for you. Hey, Warple! Welcome in! How are you doing today? And the final con is one of my favorite areas, the ant nest. It's very short. Go figure, right? Go figure that, the streamer who likes the bugs is sad that the ant nest is so short. But yeah, it really is like the shortest area in the game, and that kind of made me sad. Let's get into the review. Jubilee is a wonderful beginner to intermediate level precision platformer with the... Okay. My document is scaled weird. It's cutting off some of the edge. You got out of a shower, feel fresh and clean for the most part, still gotta wash your hair? Ooh, your leg isn't in a good state. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Wormpole. I'm so sorry. Hopefully your leg recovers soon. There we go. Let me start over, because my document is in a different position than it normally is. So it just cropped itself. That's no good. Jubilee is a wonderful beginner to intermediate level precision platformer with an open and easy to understand tutorial area, plenty of collectibles, with a guide in the menu to help you keep track of what you've collected. It's the only open world platformer of this type I've played. You can truly go anywhere you want to. If something annoys you, go somewhere else and practice other mechanics. The fast travel system ensures you're never far from the most difficult challenges the game has to offer. One of the failings is that while in a Metroidvania style, the game does not have many secret areas. Such places are most easily spotted as being obscured by a thin layer of shadow. As such, I don't think of it much as a Metroidvania, like us trying to gain inspiration from. It's more of an open world experience instead. This is not to its detriment by any means. In fact, it might flourish in the face of it. As of writing this, I have not been able to complete the hardest area of the game, heck, but the area fully ups the challenge and is full of intense corner-brushing mayhem. And, of course, lava. Yes, I'm playing a relaxing Pokemon music playlist. Let's go, Eterna Forest! Is it worth it? The game is large enough and with enough to explore, it's well worth the price point at $10. Especially if you're looking for a new platformer to speedrun. However, if finding secrets drives you, you might be disappointed. And I still feel that way today. Testing B tier. The B tier works! Woo! But yeah, I think I still stand by this review. Most of these reviews are written, like, shortly after I played the game, so they're still fresh in my mind. And you guys are trying to see if it goes in B tier, best tier. I'm thinking on it. Because, like, something to note about the movement of this game is that it's very floaty. And, I mean, I think that's kind of the point. You can spin to give yourself a little extra airtime, which is literally floaty. And it's kind of the game's whole mechanic, is that as you jump, if you need a little bit of extra time in the air, you can spin. And if you do it right, you maintain most of your momentum in doing so, and sometimes it's a little bit funky, but a lot of the time I think the platforming is crafted well for this mechanic. And it's definitely between A and B. I think for now we're gonna put it in A tier. I know, shameful. We're not putting it in B tier, the best tier. But I think it's a good place to start. We started off really strong this season, and we'll have to cover some more to see if I want it next. If it's going to move later. All right. Next up, though, we've got Roseblight. Now, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself about the discussion of this game, because I have feelings, okay? I do have feelings. We're gonna read what I've written, okay? This game is $8, and it took me about 6 hours to complete, roughly. I didn't quite finish the final boss fight. At least one of the final boss fights, because apparently there are 6 endings, and I think I might have gotten only able to get 3 different endings. It's a whole thing. Yeah, what a game, Roseblight. Hold your horses. We'll get there. It's an RPG beat-em-up. It's got some puzzle elements. It's 2-dimensional and kind of top-down. Here are the pros. The beginning is well-built and interesting. The aesthetic is well-rounded, and I also really enjoy the music. Cons. The plot of the game is pretty ableist. We'll get into it. It's got some massive plot holes. There are some glitches and cutscenes. There's some decision trees that railroad you. Saving is not explained to the player directly. And the tone of the game is incredibly inconsistent. Sometimes a tone being inconsistent can play toward humor. I don't think it fits here. Here's my review. I want to lead off with the fact that the protagonist is an ill-informed stereotype of dissociative identity disorder, or DID. When I first realized this about Blight, I was cautious, especially as we are introduced to Knight, who is one of the halves of Blight. We are introduced to Knight by them being extremely violent. After a near-death experience, the two halves of Blight can come to a deeper understanding of one another, and it gave me some hope for the story, because, you know, sometimes there's misunderstandings, sometimes, communication is good. Communication is very good. Give me a bit of hope for the story. However, when the end comes around, Blight is seemingly fully evil for much of it. A plot twist that is as unforeshadowed as it is harmful. And even then, most of what happens is left unexplained, but not in a mysterious way, more of a confusing and haphazard way. This turn made me feel angry, especially after growing attached to Marmot, who is quite an interesting character in my opinion, only for all depth to be abandoned for the sake of the ending they wanted to tell. The collectible system and puzzles were entertaining, but they felt out of place, like they were part of another game. It almost feels as though the entire game didn't want to commit to any particular direction, and was instead left with a scrambled, incomplete, and, in my opinion, offensive experience. Is it worth it? There are way better places to spend your money. Yeah. Having two beings share one body is a narrative device that has been used many, many times throughout the centuries. But if you're going to outright call it in your game DID, you need to do research and you need to talk to people who have this experience. I vote for a yikes tier. I was going to make a tier, right? I think, how do I add a tier? Is it like, add a row below. That's the wrong one. Okay. I'm making a new tier, and I'm gonna call it Writer's Jail. I only saw the beginning of Roseblight, but having heard this now, it's amazing that you know it isn't gonna be the worst one we see today. Fair point, Cloaked, fair point. Hi, Tia! How you doing? We're just talking about a very controversial, I'd say, game for our community. We'll put it this one. This is the Writer's Jail, and I have to put Roseblight into it. Like, the combat and action of the game is actually pretty good. I want to give it that merit, and I do like the art style. But, for pure writing, we need to put it into the Writer's Jail. Love that. Yeah, I think this is the best way to put it. Yeah, Roseblight. I think I played Roseblight shortly before you joined my community, so, you did get to miss this experience. I hope that, I hope that the creator does a bit more research next time they create a project like this, because that's one of the biggest things that brings the experience down, is just their portrayal of mental illness, and I hope that they learn. I hope that they learn. Remember you playing Roseblight, you think, but you forgot what it was about. Oh, Tia was always here? Oh, yeah, Okay. Alright, understood. Tia was always here. Anywho, that's my opinions on Roseblight. And we're going to go on to the next one, which is The Void Rains Upon Her Heart. Oh boy. You know, we're going from Writer's Jail to a real high here. Because, okay, Void Rains Upon Her Heart is $12, and, depending on, your build or whatever, a run of this game can take about an hour, if you're bad. But it can also be as short as half an hour. It just depends. Thumbs at the mouth! We're getting there, Wurmple, we're getting there. Wurmple was actually the one who funded me being able to play this game. They bought it for me, so got a Writer's Jail, and I love you, dear. I love you! The genre for this game is bullet hell, roguelike, shoot 'em up. It's got lore heavy, with some dark themes, but also wholesome vibes at the same time. Which, I gotta say, was not exactly expecting that when I got into it, just how deep some of these feels go. I also want to note that some assets have been changed since this trailer has been made. So if you do get the game, it's going to look a little bit different. But let's see. The pros here. It's got a well-developed world, smooth movement, massive replay value, excellent enemy design, an interesting unlock system, or I could have said unique unlock system. We've got sweet, wholesome characters. The nudity filter is great for content creators. Let's see. Wurmple, this game has brought her so much joy. Thanks for the recommendation. It's like a game of Kirby bosses. Yes! It is, Kirby is definitely a big inspiration for virals. I think he's even admitted it on, the development pages and stuff. But yeah, that's just talking about the pros. My cons is that it's still in early access, and there's no warning for body horror. Still love you, Scrambler. Because it's kind of important to note that, Scrambler, when you encounter her, she does have mouths for eyes, which can squick some people out. if there is a body horror warning that I missed and, like, it only showed up one time, then forget I said anything. Let's see, my review. How can something grappling with such dark elements such as suicide and depression be coupled with such a wholesome experience? Every character you love in both personality and mechanics. You are all truly in it together. Gameplay is simple and well explained in the tutorial, which introduces you equally well to the playable characters and the world as well. The game's humor is on point, enough to break some of the tension but not intrusive. If you like bullet hells and can handle dark content, give this game a shot. Is it worth it? Yes, yes, yes. The replay value alone is worth the price point. Because I believe when I wrote this review, I was still playing the first kind of story mode. There are 2 story modes. There's story mode and altered story. I had not even unlocked altered story at that point. And after that, you also get a endless mode, where you just keep fighting bosses until you die. And there's going to be another mode, an Ascension mode, that's going to be added. This is having, like, the most ridiculous amount of content. There's officially 99 bosses in this game. 99! What? And, like, well, some of them are just, like, different variants of the same boss, so that way you can get their perks and different levels of gameplay. There are many of them that are unique. And I've never played a roguelike that's quite like this, and I have to put this in S tier. I think it is ascended beyond B tier. I think this game is amazing, and I can't wait to see what the story holds. There's already a lot of groundwork. Welcome in, Snoop Pigeon. There's a lot of groundwork that's already been set for some really big feels, but we haven't gotten the end of anybody's storyline yet, and I really hope we get some, like, in the near future, but I've seen the roadmap, I've seen it. We might not get it for a little while. We'll get a B tier soon, I know. We have B tier, B best tier, and we still haven't reached that best tier. That's like 50 times every major boss in Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Yeah, like, there's a lot of, like, there's a very high skill ceiling when it comes to this game, and it's really fascinating to see. Oh, Jubilee's still on my banner. Oh my god. I have this whole time. Oh my god. See, this is... Thank you for telling me. There's a lot of little pieces to manage on this. I wish I kind of had, like, a button to just, like, flip through that, but I don't know how to set that up. Cool. Now we have the logo where it needs to be. Where was I? Yeah, there's a high skill ceiling, so much replay value. The developer is very open and takes criticism well and has made many game changes for the better of the player base, and B tier is all about celebrating mediocre games that we love anyway. We just haven't hit the peak of that bell curve yet. True. We've got a lot of games to go. All hail the B tier! Oh. Now, this next game that we have coming up, it's the first game on this list that does not have a trailer. It's a little game called My Name is Human. As you can see, it has the default RPG Maker menu, which is a great sign. It's 99 cents on Steam. I think I picked it up for like 14 cents. It's about 3 minutes long per ending. The genre is, quote, low-effort RPG Maker. The pros, this game is unintentionally hilarious. The cons, it is made by a team who cranks out crappy asset flip game maker games. Like a RPG Maker. That's what I meant to type here. RPG Maker. There we go. RPG Maker games. It is so yes, it is like it is unintentionally one of the most hilarious games I have ever played. Here's my review for it. This game is pure garbage. It is something whipped up with stolen assets to make a quick buck, and somehow I love it. Yeah, no, it's not Game Maker. It's crappy RPG Maker. I purposely played another RPG Maker game later just to prove that you can do a lot of good things with RPG Maker. Every time the story path ended with just dead, it goes back to the title screen and kills me. It's the same. Yes, exactly that. Every story path is only a couple minutes long at most, and it ends so abruptly that I can't help but laugh my butt off. Stock sound effects, out-of-place explosions, help the rubber, and if any effort had been put into the game at all, it would be comedic genius, but it's not. It's honestly a scam, and the best one I've ever fallen for. Okay, I got it for 28 cents, and I probably laughed enough for it to be worth that much, but honestly, I can't advocate for the game. No matter how funny it is, your money is better spent elsewhere. It just is. Your money is better spent elsewhere. S tier. You know what? Yeah, because it's a scam, I have to make this be our first B tier game. It's just. It just is a scam. It just is. Notably, my review for this game, I normally put my reviews from this Tiny Game tier list, from this review sheet onto Steam. But as soon as I played this game, I knew I needed to review it. And so what my review on Steam is the best scam I've ever played. And it is the only review I've ever made that has been called helpful by people on Steam. It is the only review I've ever posted that's gotten helpful ratings. It's gotten 3 of them. And honestly, I'm glad that I'm helping. I'm helping. This is probably the pinnacle of B tier, you know? Deservedly, to be honest, it's a succinct review. Like, there's no denying it. It just is, it is a scam, meant to just take a little bit of money, at a very low cost for production. And it worked. It worked. Because the game was so short, I moved on shortly after to the next game on our list, which is Cthulhu Pub. Cthulhu Pub is a tavern building game, clearly, because it's called Cthulhu Pub. B tier, the highest highs and lowest lows, and no bigotry. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? This game is about $10. It's $9.99 a lot of the time. And I got to about the end of where the content was after about an hour. It's a top-down simulation, kind of relaxing and casual game. Better a cheap mid-game than a pricey piece of shit. You've only done 3 Steam reviews, and all have been found helpful by at least 2 people? Nice. Maybe mine are just too wordy. I don't know. Let's see. The pros of this is that I think its art style is, frankly, adorable. And the game is pretty easy to learn. Relaxing, casual. You swear if there was a chaotic screaming during that stream, but maybe you're missing. I was on, okay. What happened that day, I woke up an hour before stream was supposed to start, and I panicked. I absolutely panicked. I had not been able to feed myself. I had gotten, 10 hours of sleep. which you'd think would be great, but I was so groggy. This stream was chaos. Sleep deprived? The opposite! The opposite. It was sleep fed. I do not recommend. I do not recommend. I do recommend. No, not Cthulhu Pub. I'm talking about streaming on that much sleep.
Let's have a drink.
Cheers. Yeah, let's do a little refresh here. Okay. So I beat it in about an hour. I thought the game was pretty easy to learn. The tutorial was pretty nice. Some of the later parts of the tutorial didn't explain stuff super well, and it was a little bit broken. But in general, I was able to understand what was happening. Sleeping is bad, don't do it. I didn't say that. I did not say that. The cons is that it's unpolished, a bit glitchy, has a limited lifespan, and limited OST. As in, for most of the game, you hear mostly just, like, this low drumming hum. It's got a very kind of sinister vibe to it, which is kind of fascinating. I would have liked maybe, like, 1 or 2 songs, probably, but it is what it is. See, specifically a game about chicken committing war crimes on foxes for killing their family. Where did that come from? Did I miss something? Did I miss something? I feel like I missed something. Then again, it's Tia talking about war crimes, so I can't be missing much. It's just Tia. Here's my review. Cthulhu Pub is a restaurant simulator for eldritch horrors, combining restaurant mechanics with tower defense in a rather interesting way. However, the game can easily get to the point where money is not an issue. I managed to glitch out the quest system, leaving me to my own devices until I accidentally erased my save. While I enjoyed what there is, the game needs some serious polish, and I'm surprised this is not early access. Is it worth it? Despite how much, it depends on how much glitches bug you, I was left a bit disappointed. Yeah, like, I can appreciate a good bug every now and then, but I think this one had a little bit much. There was, it's left a bit rough around the edges. Like, you can easily reach the end of progression. Good bugs are good. Game-breaking bugs are obnoxious. Yeah, I couldn't progress along the quest tree after a point. It just broke. It just broke. And so I was left with, infinite waves of the tower defense. And I couldn't exactly get the higher levels of tower defense to really work. Like, you start gardening, and that's how you do more tower defense shenanigans. I believe I was accidentally placing an infinite number of gardeners on a space, and then I couldn't dig up anything because the gardeners were on that space. So I just kept planting more plants. I believe that's what happened. It has been a while since I played this game, though, so I might be wrong. I think Cthulhu Pub goes into C tier. It could go to B tier if it patched some of these bugs, especially, like, I changed, right, I started opening a new world, and it didn't let me know to save beforehand. Games need to have a little disclaimer saying, hey, you're about to change worlds, would you like to save your game? That's something that it needs to happen. And this game doesn't have that as a measure. And I think that's one of the things that keeps it this low. PMD. Yes, this is definitely a good relaxing playlist. So I think if this game patched more of its bugs, it might be able to move up, or if it has patched its bugs since I've played it, I don't know. I do know that the developer of this game lives in Ukraine, so that was one of the reasons why I bought this game, to support the developer during a rough time, because it's still a rough world out there, and I wanted to show my support. And so if you do want to support Ukrainian developers, this is a Ukrainian developer, but as an honest review of the game, I have to put it in C tier. After that, we have Signals. Chloe, I have a question for you, very important. Why do I not trust this? I mean, to be fair, that is a kind of sus way to go about it. Alright, so Signals, it's $10. It's about 2 hours to do the full campaign. It's a top-down economy management game that's kind of relaxing. We've got the pros of that. It's an interesting take on the genre and easygoing, except for the timed sections, which, boy, they are timed. The cons is that we have limited mechanics, a shallow replay value, it's possible to soft lock, the game must be unpaused to place objects, and there's no time acceleration. So, many of these sort of top-down management games have an accelerate option, and many of them have the ability to place many things while paused. In this game, pausing is just so that way you can scroll around the map. I think, like, you can't place objects while paused. I think you can read stuff while paused, but pause functionality is incredibly limited. But here's my review. Signals started in an interesting fashion. Dig materials to rebuild the device and move on to the next sector. And then the second and third levels bring on a time limit, and no further game mechanics are added. This leaves the game feeling shallow and empty. Nothing to change stakes. In fact, the stakes even lower once the second half of the game has no time limit. While this makes the game relaxing, it also leaves there not a lot there. There is a daily level that you can play, but personally it takes too long for the enjoyment factor, as it encourages you to visit every single planet, and there's like 50 planets in one seed, you know, so that's a lot of planets. It encourages you to visit every single planet to try and gain the high score, which takes hours to do optimally. Sometime you go to bed not knowing how to fix a design or coding problem, you wake up with a solution in your brain, but you don't know if you did dream it or it just makes you less tired. Wait, do you ever have any games come to you in dreams? Or just built different? Yeah, like, I have lots of story ideas that pop into my head while I'm sleeping, and most of them go nowhere because I frankly do not have enough time. I do not have enough time to make everything. So sometimes ideas do just come to you, and it's your decision whether or not you actually act on them. Let's see, and I said, is it worth it? I say pass. I say pass or pick it up on sale. Because I did enjoy the, fuck. I just remembered that when I tab over, you guys see that. Shh, shh, shh. Okay. Yeah, I like, there's not a lot to the game. Basically, you place mining modules, you power them with another kind of building, and that's about it. You have to wait for them to mine, and then you just rocket to the next planet and repeat. And it's, in order to do it optimally, you have to, wait on that planet and deconstruct all your resources, and then move on to the next planet, because, if you had a system...
Let's have a drink!
Cheers. if you had a system where you could just warp back to planets you were already developing technology on, then I'd feel more inclined to just go and set up systems on, like, every planet. But that's not how the game works, because you have to pay money every single time, and rockets are expensive, and that is shown in the game. It is very expensive to go from planet to planet, and sometimes the resources you get from a planet you visit are only just enough to pay for the cost of going to the next planet. And just this management feels off to me. Like, it needed something else to give it a little bit more depth, and I know a lot of these games add combat for that reason, and I don't, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be combat. Like, I like that the game doesn't have combat. You don't need combat in every single game. But something about it just doesn't have a ton of depth. And I'm left wanting that depth. So I think... Ooh... I think... I don't know whether to put this in C or D tier. I can move things later. We're gonna put this below Cthulhu Pub, because I think Cthulhu Pub has more there. But Signals might move down a little bit later. D tier just for aesthetic reasons. That is true. It is a very basic art. Oh, you mean just one in every tier? Sure, fine. D tier for now, and it might move up. I thought you meant aesthetic of the game. It's fine. The game's aesthetic is fine. It could have a little bit more flair, but it's fine. It's functional. It works. The aesthetic is gonna be ruined in like 5 minutes. That is... I mean... I'd say having an uneven distribution is more aesthetic than having one tier empty, you know? Maybe unruined in 30 minutes. I mean, you got a point there. Moving on from Signals, though, this is going to be Curse of the Crescent Isle, which probably has one of the most fascinating trailers I've ever seen. It's a very Windows Movie Maker sort of vibe on the trailer, but that's not what we're here to judge it for. So Curse of the Crescent Island DX is a remaster of the original Curse of the Crescent Isle, and it's available for 99 cents, which is very cheap. The tier list will just look like a... Hold on. Nightbot posted, and it's like, it looked like an emoji by the end? What's an emoji? What don't I know? What the heck don't I know? But it took me about 3 hours to beat this game. And I called it a platformer puzzle Mario 2-like, because... Oh, Among Us. Oh, yeah, okay. Now I get it. A singular Among Us. Okay. That's what I'm missing. That's what I'm missing. I'm not going to intentionally organize the tier list to look like an Among Us. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Among Us. If in the end, if we don't get a bell distribution from this, you're gonna riot. Okay, I promise bell distribution. But I do think that, Mario 2 definitely, like, it's interesting to see a take on the game in a new way, with, like, with more enemies that do different things. So I was drawn to it simply because of the fact that it's trying something new with something that's not often revisited. The pros is that, like I said, it's a new take on the underexplored genre, and it's got some good puzzles. I remember I did enjoy quite a few of them, because when you pick up enemies, each one of them has different powers. Jubilee, did you miss it? Yes, you did, but welcome in! Yeah, I like how you did the platforming in that game. It was very nice. I will be posting all these reviews on the sites where I obtained the game later, so you'll be able to read what my thoughts on the matter after stream. I do actually have a Google Doc with those on it as well, but it was mostly to... It's very ugly compared to the one where I showcase which games we've played in the past 6 months. Thank you for making the game. It's good to see you. Check out me to buy the game. It's very fun. Yeah, I agree. Very fun. Watching your VOD of it was really fun. Thank you. It touches me when developers enjoy my content. Because I try to I try to have a good time. You know, that's the most important thing, is to have a good time. But thank you so much for stopping by. Currently we're talking about the Curse of Crescent Island DX and posture check. Thanks, Mom. Alright. Right. So the pros was it's a new take on an underexplored genre. It's good puzzles. Hamster is covered by the logos.
Hamster.
Hold on while I free Hamster quick. Hold up while I free Hamster.
Hamster.
There you go. Hamster has been freed.
I'm in danger.
Hamster has been freed. You may now Hamster in peace. The cons for Curse of the Crescent Isle. Chris, get the banana. Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate that. And Queen has also been overtaken by the logos. You can't escape. You can't escape. Just your free Amazon sub. It still means a lot.
Hamster. Hamster.
Because, like, a lot of those don't get used, you know? The stream is now sponsored by a dev. It is! Hashtag sponsored by Jubilee. Okay. Focus. The cons for Curse of the Crescent Isle is that the base platforming is a little clunky. Though I think the wind mechanics were frankly not well done. I did not like them. Mostly because there wasn't really any warning when wind switched directions. And the game can be very loud at parts, with a little bit of poor audio management there, or balancing. Is that what I think it's called? Balancing. My review. Curse of the Crescent Isle DX is a puzzle platformer where you pick up enemies and use their powers to traverse levels. Each enemy does something new, and they are very consistent. However, where things start to get rough is in the details. Whenever there's an action section, or platforming without enemies to use, the game gets sluggish and grueling. There's also pits that cause insta-death and can be a pain. I think one of the areas that sums up this most is the final area, where this tower introduces a new mechanic. Wind. This wind is regularly changing directions without a transition phase or a warning, making it very difficult to adapt to. From what I remember, the wind is only on a single screen, but boy was I on that screen for upwards of 30 minutes. Point being, the game would be better if it leaned even more into the puzzle aspect and less into the combat and platforming. Is it worth it? Despite my gripes, it is a very good deal for 99 cents, and I'd recommend trying it if you have the chance. And I still stand by that. The wind mechanic definitely needed to either not be there or be more polished, but I don't think it brings down the entire experience. I think that, there's still a lot of good things to this game that I had a lot of fun with. So with that in mind, I think I'm gonna put Crescent Isle above My Name is Human. Because the story's also pretty cute. It's simple, but it's cute and sweet. and I did enjoy my time playing it, although it did it did wear me out a lot. B tier, B tier, B tier is best tier. And I think again it's a really good game for price, which is another thing that I factor in when it comes to these games. Like 99 cents for a 3-hour game is really good. Probably even undercharging a little bit there. But if you see it, go ahead and pick it up. Just saw My Name is Human. That's your dog's name? Adorable. Adorable. Hey, Captain Bowser! Welcome in! How you doing today? We're going to be moving on to our next game on the list. Let's go ahead and move over. And it is called Lofty Quest. Let me go ahead and... There we go. Lofty Quest! This is a hidden object game. It's about $4. It took me 1.5 hours to complete. And it's a hidden object diorama visual novel. You're chillin'? Hell yeah. My pros here is that it had a nice story, it was pretty relaxing, and it had good characters. Like, part of this game is you go and help characters with their struggles, so that way, they'll come help you and save the world. And I thought each character had, you know, a unique storyline that was pretty nice. Minecraft aesthetics? A little bit. There's some blockiness in the good way, yeah. Yeah, my cons is that, the dialogue advances automatically, which can be a little bit rough as when you're trying to read it out loud or as an accessibility issue. It's got a low difficulty, which that doesn't necessarily have to be a problem, but I kind of ended up going to the hardest area first, which was hard simply because the levels were dark. So it was a little bit inconsistent on that front. The rotation mechanic is a bit clunky, because the camera fixes on the middle of the object, and then you kind of pivot around it, and it can sometimes be a little bit difficult to control. And the game goes out of focus depending on where your cursor is. So the focus will only be where your cursor is, which can look okay, but it also hurts in trying to find objects. There is one pro I think I'm gonna add in now retroactively, and that's that, there's a, like, high amount of interactivity. Like, you can destroy pots, you can clean cobwebs, you can chop grass, and that's fun. Let's be real, that's just flat out fun, being able to just click on stuff and have stuff happen. I think that's cool for a hidden object game, because there's a lot of hidden object games out there that do emphasize the challenge. Can you find the thing? And punish you for clicking on other things. This game doesn't do that, and I think that's a nice change of pace. My review. Lofty Quest is a short, sweet, and simple game about ending the rule of a tyrannical king using the powers of clicking on stuff. That's real gamer aesthetic right there, just the power of clicking on stuff. I enjoyed this game, but the mountain area was the first I went to and was a bad indicator for the game's difficulty. I loved peering inside the buildings to see where objects were, and poking through caves and crevices, and that element was extremely lacking in the other two areas, which were much easier, though no matter what, you will always fight the camera. That said, they did a good job making sure the characters were well written and interesting, and the art is lovely. It's like those books with little flaps to reveal funny things. Yeah, exactly. And, like, I did like that part about the game, because every level has, like, some story objects to find, and then one hidden coin, and finding that hidden coin was really fun. Splatoon's hurting you again? Are you trying to complete the catalog before the next season, Wormhole? Or are you just playing ranked mode? Oh, connection errors. rest in peace. Is the game worth it? I recommend it, but don't come here if you're looking for a challenge. It's not trying to be a challenge. It's trying something different with the hidden object genre. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool that they're trying something new. Where do I put this on the rankings, though, is the thing. I think it's definitely above Cthulhu Pub. So I guess we could put it in B tier for now. Because remember, the B stands for best. And we can readjust the tier list accordingly as we move on. Because we've still got a ways to go. I think we can put it safely in B tier for now. As for the next game on our list, oh boy. This is not a bad oh boy, it's just an oh boy. This is Fake Illusions. Shocking nobody, Fake Illusions is a optical illusion spotting game. Like, which one's an actual optical illusion and which ones are not. Illusions are fake by definition. Yeah, but which ones are real optical illusions and which ones aren't? It breaks my brain every single time. This game is about $6. The length of the game is, quote, how long can you stand it? The genre is puzzle, and I also included the genre of mind-bending? Sure, we'll call that a genre. Pros. The illusions work, oh god. I wrote that. Self-harm! It can be a little bit of punishment, sure. The cons of this is that the game has poor window scaling, and also my brain melted. But what I'm talking about here is, like, if I tried to scale the window, it didn't scale up the entire game. It, the trailer alone's hurting your silly little brain. Yeah, it's hurting me too. The Pokemon music is not really helping. But when you scale the window, what it does is it kind of repeats the patterns over and over again. So that means that the same object can appear multiple times. And that does not help with solving the puzzle. Which, I'm gonna say is a little bit of a problem, and it makes it a little bit harder to stream. But that said, my review says this game is not for the faint of heart. You will find some puzzles easy. You will find some puzzles impossible. Your brain will dissolve. I did not find any glitches with the game, but when the game is full screened, it doesn't always scale very well, showing the same objects multiple times on some puzzle modes. It's difficult to talk about what I like about this game, as it's pretty straightforward and just breaks me. Basically, if it sounds like your thing, get it. Is it worth it? My brain is dying, but if you could survive, go for it. Like, oh my god. How do you review this? Because it's functional. I thought the tutorial could have used a little bit more explanation because it's a wordless game. So it takes a little bit of trial and error to realize that you're supposed to click on the odd one out, and it takes some time as well to realize which one is the odd one out for any given situation. So a couple of words for the tutorial probably would have been nice, but overall, I think it does what it sets out to do very well. I should probably put this in a tier, so that way, our brains will stop breaking quite so bad, B tier? I think there's a lot of puzzles in this game for the price you pay. Oh my god, it's so hard to focus. Yeah, again, we'll put it in B tier for now, a little bit above Lofty Quest, I think. C tier for... Oh god, my brain! Hey, that's what you guys... For Billusions. Ooh, Billusions! That's why I actually have pinned a link to the tier list yourself, so you guys can rank it on your own opinions. Is it, like, watchable opinions? Is it by... God, okay, I need to move on to the next one. But you can rank based on your own opinions. You could put everything in B tier if you'd like. Our next game, though, is Metaform. Now, Metaform is a word game that's kind of also got a visual novel style to it. The game is $5 on itch, and it takes about an hour to play. It's a visual novel puzzle surreal vocabulary game. A vocabulary being, like, I know for a lot of vocabulary games, it's like an education sort of thing. This is definitely not, an education, vocabulary. The premise of the game is you get these words, and you have to use the words to interact with your environment. For example, the wind coming through the window can be used to wind the clock. That is what the whole premise of the game is. And it's where the name comes from with Metaform. It's a metaphor. Yeah, it's a cool concept. And I think the developer has talked about making a longer version of the game. Because one of the cons I do have here is that it's a little bit short. It's like, words, but what do they mean? What do they mean? Right, I haven't even read the prose here, where it's clever, it's got a gorgeous art style, and the dialogue is humorous. Like, there's quite a lot of jokes here, and there's also some hidden, prizes, I guess, hidden things that you can find just by interacting with your world in, different ways. Finding more puns gets you more benefits. The console's that short for the price. And, okay, I do say that they reward you for trying weird things, but sometimes they're a little bit underexplored. I imagine, if we do get a sequel to this, that, it'll probably be even more fleshed out. My review of the game. Metaform is a game I've always wanted. A game where you use dialogue options and their double meanings to change the world around you. Yeah, wind through a window winds a clock. Do you have time to reflect? Or reflect? These shape your experience, and they provided me with great joy as I explored the beautiful scenes. Unfortunately, the game is a bit short, but it sounds like the developer would like to make a longer one, and I wait eagerly for another installment. Is it worth it? There's potential here, and supporting the developer now can make that potential become a reality. Homeographs. Right, that's what that's called. Same word, different meanings. And that's what that means. Now, I have to say, the game does have a plot to it, and being surreal, it's a little hard to follow, but I did feel things with this ending. Like, it's very touching, and I would love to see even more of that explored, because, like, to say this in, like, vague terms, the game kind of ends with, you exploring aspects of yourself and not just the world around you, and it's really, it's pretty deep. It's a short segment of the game, but it's really deep, and I greatly appreciate that. So, I think I personally, I'm gonna, think for now, slide it into A tier. Again, it is pretty short, but I just love the concept so much. So much. With that, I think we can move on to the next game, which is Excaliburian! So earlier we did cover My Name is Human, which is an asset flip RPG maker game. This is an RPG maker game that uses its tools to more of their full potential instead of stealing assets and flipping them. It's free on Steam. It took me about
Let's have a
6
drink.
hours. Cheers. It took me about 6 hours to play, but there are secret paths and secret bosses that I did not fight. Love RPG Maker. Yeah. RPG Maker could do a lot of really good things, and I think this is a good example of that. Yeah, it's an RPG, adventure, turn-based, and it's got an open world, so you can conquer the dungeons in any order if you are a good level, or have enough cheese. You can also rename your party members,
Hamster.
which is always good. There is a clip on my channel, where I did change somebody's, name to Garfield, and it did reflect in the world. We got to visit the Abbey of St. Garfield. And now I'm traumatized. The pros. It's got auto battle, so if you're up against just random slime 800, you can just auto battle it away. There's also differing dialogue depending on who's in your party or if you've changed your party in other ways, through like transformation or invisibility. There's different dialogue for that, and that's pretty cool. And there's also some funny lore. And Blurp says browser source is not connected. That's weird, because you guys have been blurping. You even used your walk-on, JK. What do you mean browser source is not connected? That's a lie! Oh, you can't drop the St. Garfield. Blurp is a lie. Blurp is a lie. Blurp is lying. It doesn't want to share St. Garfield with the world. The cons is that the level scaling is a little bit off. You can easily rocket ahead of where you're supposed to be. Sounds like a case of inside thoughts. True. Blurp having that inside bone energy. And the other con is that it's easy to get lost in the overworld of this game. It does operate under the assumption that, like, the world is a sphere, I guess, so you can just infinitely go in any given direction in a circle forever, which means you can get lost, especially because I don't think there's a map, and that can be a little bit of a problem when you're trying to find the end of the game. But here's my review. Excaliburian is a free RPG Maker game in a sea of cheap or free RPG Maker games. But this one stands out to me. As an interesting concept, you are a descendant of a god king, and you must embark on a holy journey to become the next king. The world is full of rich lore and was obviously crafted with love. The world is vast and full of hidden boss fights to discover. There are many party members, however, many of them can be rather forgettable, as aside from combat, they have no effect on the world around you. Speaking of combat, the final area of the game is fairly simple compared to some other areas, and it was personally a breeze to get through. However, I cannot say if the same goes for any secret bosses, as I did not end up fighting them. The plot resolution was nice as well, and overall, I enjoyed this experience. Is it worth it? It's a good way to scratch that Final Fantasy itch. And yeah, I have to say that they did do a really good job. And as the game is free, like, of course it's a really good bang for buck because it's free. And I think I'm gonna put it below Metaform. I think yeah, it's very well done. I think it's very well done. And sometimes a little bit of jank in the balancing can also add to how fun the game is. Just because it allows for cheese and allows for you to do different approaches and different playthroughs if you wanted to. And I think I did find one hidden boss a little bit early. And it was definitely difficult. I did not win. But that just means that there is more to discover. I think you go to the moon, I think. I don't know, man. Maybe that's for you guys to find. Because, yeah, basically I liked it. I liked it a lot. Our next game is The Longest Road on Earth. This is the Abbey of St. Garfield! There it is! That's the Abbey of St. Garfield. That's the Abbey. So, The Longest Road on Earth is $10. And about 2 hours long, I'd say. A little over. Oh shit, Granny's got a knife! It is an atmospheric music video game, and it's 2D with pixel art. And I do think of it, yeah, as kind of a music video game. And Giggleklutz loves the soundtrack. I have heard Giggleklutz listening to the soundtrack after I played this game, because it is in fact very beautiful and on Spotify, if you want to go check that out. The pros is that it has an astonishingly good soundtrack and has beautiful visuals. Like, it's all grayscale, but, like, it does a lot with that grayscale. Very, very gorgeous. The cons, though, is that the narrative is a little bit hard to connect to. Because the game has, like, no dialogue, like, there are words in the world around you, but you don't get to see any characters speak, it's very important that the narrative you're trying to portray comes across. And I think, for me, it kind of failed. Like, simply because I don't know enough of the context, I think. For example, this, the first character you get to play as is this rat woman, and, she's living alone. She, like, somebody who she cared about moved away, but I don't know if it's her child, I don't know if, her husband got a divorce, I don't know, like, those things kind of shape more of this story, and I'm not entirely sure what it means. I will say the last story did resonate a lot more with me because it was kind of a little bit more generic. It was a growing up story. But some of this was a little bit hard to connect to because of the approach, I guess. My review. It's an interactive movie. If you are here to make choices or be immersed in a deep story, this is not the place. It is a mood piece. It is 4 short stories put together. There is value to be had in this, however the game struggles to convey its message properly as the only words are in the OST, leaving the rest of the story to be picked up from limited interactions between the characters and the world around them. This made it hard for me personally to connect to the stories, except for the story of the moose, whose story is growing, coming of age, and facing the world with fresh eyes, which I found inherently relatable. The mood from this game is dripping with loneliness, even if there are others around, but it has troubling anchoring that into a greater message. 3 connection errors in a row? Oh no, poor Wurmple. Oh no. It's okay, Wurmple. I love you, regardless. Is it worth it? If you don't like art games, you will not like this game. I think it's a steep cost for this game personally, as it feels like it's missing a couple threads to pull it all together, but the OST is well worth the price. It does feel like something is missing. And I'm not talking about that as in from the loneliness. Yeah, the soundtrack is on Spotify to listen to, and I highly recommend it. It's beautiful, gorgeous. And the art of the game is also really, really good. but a lot of the story itself, I have a hard time remembering because it wasn't anchored as much. And I think that vastly, like, hurts where I'm going to put it in the rankings. Like, it feels like a crime to put it in C, but eventually I'm gonna need to start putting stuff in C. I think I did enjoy it more than Lofty Quest. For now, B tier. For now, B tier. I'm not really delivering on that bell curve. I'm not really delivering on that bell curve that Pigeon wanted. Where are my aesthetics at? Oh no! Oh no, the longest road on Earth stole all of them! Oh no! Well, then we've also got Homewind. And Homewind is a sort of puzzle top-down city builder that's kind of level-based and very, like, casual, relaxing kind of gameplay. Where you just place these buildings down, and the more buildings are around it that, it's very narrow bell curve. Yeah, it's very narrow. It's very, it's just half of a bell. It's just half of a bell. So yeah, it's meant to be a sort of relaxing, sort of just put the things in place kind of puzzle sim. It's free, but with, if you pay $7 for its premium version, you get more levels. I think you get over 100 levels, which is a lot. And I think it's just double the levels, which means there's like 100 in the free version as well. So if this looks interesting, like, you can just go ahead and try it out right now on Steam. I want to say, like, each level is, like, roughly 10 minutes, although if you agonize over where you're gonna place the buildings, it can take longer. But frankly, I don't think that's how it's necessarily meant to be played. The pros is that it's a fun gimmick, it's engaging, it's simple and easy to learn, and there are plenty of levels. Like I said, there's a lot of levels in this game. But the cons is that there's kind of a difficulty spike. After a point, I did have trouble playing some of these levels. They just required so many attempts because, okay, one of the gimmicks of the game is that there are animals that wander around the map. And if you put, like, certain buildings next to certain animals, you'll get a buff. However, like, this buff is really, really needed for early game on some levels, which means you have to wait for animals to wander closer, because they are free moving around the map. They will stick to certain biomes, but they are free to do as they please. So I had to wait for, like, a whole herd of ostriches to group close together to place a house near them. And that was agonizing. And that means when I failed, I had to wait for the ostriches to do it again. There's also some RNG with the game, because there are different pictures for different buildings. And this RNG can screw you over, because if they give you a bunch of, like, for example, the biggest farms, the radius around that farm to give you bonuses is the same no matter the shape of the farm. And one of the farms takes up almost the entirety of this radius, meaning it is one of the worst buildings in the game, and if you get enough of those, you just get screwed over because of that. There's also some glitches I discovered, so the game is a bit glitchy. Homewind is meant to be relaxing, it is meant to be enjoyable, it is meant to be strategic. I think it succeeds in all these things, but that said, it is rough around the edges. From farms varying wildly in size and therefore usefulness, to the limited 2D making it difficult to build from front to back, Homewind lacks a level of polish. There are also semi-common glitches, my favorite of which is having the ability to place near-infinite buildings on a single platform so long as an inn is placed first. No idea why this happens, but it just does to an extremely humorous result. Jank aside, the amount of levels you get for free is surprising, over 100 with that number doubled with supporting the developer. I did have trouble getting past some levels after a point, however, and grew bored of using the glitch I discovered. However fun it may be, it simply didn't hold my attention for too long. Is it worth it? It's worth playing around with, even if it's just for a little while. I can't say exactly how hilarious it is to just be able to place a platform on the water, slap an inn on it, and then just infinitely put houses on top of it. I broke so many levels this way. Easy cheesy! Easy cheesy! But this is one of the I don't play many of the Tiny Game Tuesdays after I'm done streaming, but this one I did go back to. So I gotta give it that. I did go back to this one. Yeah, easy cheesy! So I have to give it that. That it did hold my attention well enough that I did come back to it. However, from the level of polish... Do we have a C tier? Do we have a C tier? I think we might have a C tier. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's missing a level of polish that would grant it the coveted B tier. I think it just barely does not make the cut. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna put it for now. Moving on to the next game on our list, we have Adventure Lamp! And this game is I'm switching the logos. This game is a action platformer, and it's two-dimensional, as you can tell. It's $8, and it takes about 3 hours to beat, I'd say. The pros, it's got an adorable aesthetic. The animations are very polished, and it's got lots of unique level mechanics. So, like, you've got darkness that you can only see through when you have your hat on, for example. Cheers. There's buttons, there's wind mechanics done well. But cons is that the late game struggles with precision, and the hat is difficult to control. Bonk your head. That's right, bonk your head on it. Yeah. Bonk your head. Bonk your head on it. My review says that Adventure Lamp starts off strong, with fun platforming and simple, engaging puzzles, and fun gimmicks that lead to unique atmosphere in each area of the game. I was always happy to solve a room, though fairly often I felt as though I was brute forcing something in some way. However, as hazards and enemies became more common and the level of precision rises, the game's primary gimmick becomes its curse. When you jump, your hat almost always flies off your head. This is usually inconsequential or even useful, but your hat can activate switches, and these switches in some of the final areas of the game are on tiny platforms that you are currently standing on. So often, when you jump to leave them, your hat flies off and then hits the button you just left, which can plunge you into lava. In the particular room that I'm thinking of, there are also lasers, which can send your hat flying wildly in unpredictable directions, even if you try to get rid of it to make platforming easier. Because of this room, I could not complete what might have been the final section of the game. I cannot confirm if this is the final section of the game. I'm rather sad that I was not able to complete it. Another minor critique is that the sound settings are toggle on and off instead of a volume slider, so I had to manually turn my computer down instead of adjusting what I thought was too loud of game volume. All in all, I would have loved if Adventure Lamp had stuck to more puzzles and light action and not went down the precision route, as the hat feels as though it has a mind of its own. Is it worth it? I'm on two minds on this. On the one hand, for most of the game I was having a blast, but on the other I wasn't able to finish. I rarely say wait for a sale, but in this case it may serve you well. And yeah, like I said, I love how polished the visuals are. It's pretty, and it's got a lot of character. And the jumping mechanics are pretty unique, and like, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. Welcome in. Yeah, I do, like, there's a lot to like about the game. There's a lot to like. Like, there are a lot of games where when they handle darkness, they just make it so that way you can't see anything, but this game is one that actually allows you to see the outline of your character in the darkness. So you can still tell, for example, if you're falling, you can tell, for example, if you are actually crouched to jump, even in complete darkness, which is very nice. I really appreciate that about dark levels. Ooh. But I think for pure level of jank... Oh my goodness! Dreamer, thank you so much for the raid! How are you doing today? Welcome in! Welcome in, Unlucky! Welcome in, everyone! Welcome in, Captain Mangles, as well. I'm HoneyShuckleEX. I'm a variety streamer. I like to play lots of obscure indie games. Welcome in, Potato. Convinced a man to commit a murder of his teammate. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, here come the hamsters. Here come the hamsters. Where do you think Dreamer got it from? You're playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Ooh. I never get chat this long. I never get chat this long. It is, everything is overlapping. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the follow.
Hamster
party!
Hamster.
We're currently doing
Hamster.
We are currently doing a review stream of how many hamsters we can fit into a 1 minute span. Clearly. Thank you so much for the follow.
Let's have a drink.
Cheers. Hamster hype. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can talk around this to explain what today's stream is. You love being part of the problem. Well, congratulations. You're definitely helping. We're doing a Tiny Game tier list stream today. So I have this series called Tiny Game Tuesday, where I play underdiscovered games and give them a fair chance. See if we can discover something new and should be seen by more people. And, hi, it's us. We're the problem, it's us. And we're not consuming the hamster. No, we are not. Hamster is not for consumption. No. No. So today's the tier list stream where I take all the games that I've played in the past 6 months, and we put them on a tier list and see which ones I enjoy the most. And I do have a pinned message, so if you would like to make a tier list of these as well, or just simply see which games I have played, there are some links there. For joining me in the anti-hamster consumption solidarity. Hamsters are not for consumption. Hamsters are friends. Hamster is for consumption only in the most desperate situations. You know what? I'll take that as Whirlpool is on our side, because this is not desperate. This is not the desperate circumstances. Like, we're not, on a deserted island. It's not just me and a hamster vying for survival. No. I think for Adventureland, Right, so this game is a fun platformer, but it's got a lot of jank elements about it. Almost like it doesn't quite know what it wants to be. And while I think that it's very beautiful, my feelings on it are a bit mixed in kind of the negative direction. It's definitely better than Homewind. It's definitely better than Homewind. Is it better than Lofty Quest? Is Lofty Quest about to get demoted? We'll leave it as is right now. We'll leave it as is right now. Yeah, we'll revisit it. We'll revisit it. Barbarian? Wait, what did I miss? Let's see. Just also in Curse and D&D related, imagine if a barbarian was a bard. Yeah, the Barbarians! The Barbarians! It's wonderful. So many songs about blood and guts. So for our next game, we're going to be taking a look at Micron. And let me just pop up that logo here. So Micron is a top-down puzzle game with like some musical elements to it. Like basically every time a little dot hits a platform, it makes a sound. And so the more catchy the beat, the more likely that you are to solving the puzzle, which is a very interesting kind of feedback that I haven't seen in many puzzle games. It takes about 1 hour to get through most of the puzzles. So I imagine if you go through all the challenge modes and stuff, you could get around 2 hours out of it, maybe. But it's $1. It's $1. So I think that's more than enough. See, it's got a good, clean aesthetic and fascinating puzzles, but the con is that it has no piece hotkeys. So you see how you have like there are pieces that you have to place, and you have to manually go and click on them, like, to switch every single time. It would have been nice if we had, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, for the different buttons to switch what we had. You're also Tetris, but depressed? What? Wait. What? Huh? Okay, I don't know what we mean by Tetris, but depressed. Is that... Bardbaria beat you to death and play at your funeral? Dual purpose. Executioner and entertainment. So... Here's my review for Micron. Micron is a game that has a lot going for it. It's clean, relaxing aesthetic, it's easy to understand puzzle mechanics, and it has satisfying puzzle solutions. It's also well polished and does not break easily. Every flaw with the game is small. For example, there's no undo, likely due to the nature of the puzzles. It has no hotkeys for different pieces, and the rhythm puzzles are very difficult to understand, because there are some rhythm puzzles for this, where you have to, like, bounce projectiles, these projectiles in, like, different ways to, like, open doors in a specific way. This is yeah, you've played this one. You have played this one. You realize, like, wait, I have this. And you decide to try to speed run, beat me to the puzzles before I got there. You did that successfully. The rhythm puzzles are an order of magnitude more difficult. Agreed. They, a lot of the time, it's like opening a series of doors, so you have to set up different projectiles to open the doors in sequence while another projectile goes through them. Projectile vomit? No, it's not a bad game. They should not be included and put in their own challenge world. Yeah, they should, I think all of them are not in, like, the main series of progression. They're, like, on their own offshoots, which I can appreciate that part. They're not mandatory. But my goodness, are they difficult. However, none of these things were large enough to get in the way of my experience, and while timing was sometimes an element, the puzzles always had large windows of execution. A well-crafted experience that doesn't overstay its welcome. At the time, I highly recommended it with great puzzles for its price, at $1. I have played quite a few puzzle games in this Tiny Game Tuesday. You said projectile, so I had vomit. I don't know, but I definitely do not think that this game is vomit. Let's just put that out there. It's not vomit. Like, there are some parts of this game that I'm reading a script. I am reading my reviews that I have made, so yeah. You're gonna go eat some food. Thanks for dealing with the shenanigans. No problem. Thank you so much for the raid, Dreamer. I really appreciate that. Right, so some parts of this game don't really stick out in my memory as much, because, well, maybe in part because it's been so long, but there's also, like, offering in-depth analysis from a game you played a couple months ago is not easy. No, it's not. I imagine if I picked up the game again, I could probably do these puzzles again because I don't remember it quite as much. Surprised there aren't any Resident Evil games. Well, that's the point of the series. These are under-discovered games. It's part of my Tiny Game Tuesday series where we play indie games that, like, it has to be indie. Resident Evil is not indie. And plus, I don't play horror games, really. Like, every time I try, I get way too scared. Yeah, it's the point of the series that, they're indie games. Right, as I was saying, a lot of, like, it kind of fails on some of the memorableness. It's definitely indie. That's a lie. Where do I put Micron on this? I think we're gonna put it into B tier at the moment. I don't know where it should be in relation to Lofty Quest. I think I did have more fun with Lofty Quest than Micron, to be fair. I think we're gonna put it there for the moment. It is a very pretty game. I do like all the colors and the rhythm, just the musical part of the game is really fascinating to me. Like, just hearing different sounds as you start to complete the game is really cool, and I like it a lot. But then the actual rhythm portion of the game that actually requires you do some rhythm stuff can be a little bit whack. And very, very tight. Oh! I accidentally hit, the save button. We're not done yet. We're not done with the tier list. Yeah, B tier hype! Right, for the next game, we've got Wizard Battle! Now, while this game's title is a little bit generic, I think that this game is kind of got some more unique puzzle mechanics to it. It is a 2D turn-based puzzle where you have to make sure that the wizard survives a fall. And you do that by moving blocks around. Pros, right, the game's also $5, and it takes about 1 hour max. Derpy wizard, yeah, it's very silly wizard. The pros is that it's easy to understand. The game's lore is hilarious, and I've never seen this kind of puzzle style before, which made it very fun to try. The cons, though, is that it's short. The name makes it very difficult to find this game, and the menu is a little difficult to navigate. Like, you know how a lot of menus have, like, a select key? in order to select something on the menu for this game, you press the right button. As in the right directional button. That is a little bit strange. The only keys that do anything in this game are the directional keys. The directional keys are the only buttons used in this game. Which does make the select key be a little bit strange. So it's a little bit hard when starting up. Yeah, not a conventional design choice. No. Why is it called Wizard Battle? There's no battle? Yes, there is. The lore of the game is that your wizard was in a battle and got knocked off a cliff. So you need to help your wizard survive the fall, so that way he can get back up to the wizard fight. To the wizard battle. But the lore of the game is that magic is sentient, so you are playing as magic, and sometimes magic is rebellious and doesn't do what the wizard wants. And that explains why you can fail. And the lore is very silly. Like, I was not expecting, 6 pages of lore, when I booted this game up. I think it does add to the experience, but I am absolutely shocked at how much lore there is. Yeah, Wizard Battle is played by manipulating the blocks to try to get the wizard to fall through a maze in 4 or less turns. This means every puzzle is simple and easy to understand, even on puzzles where you can extend the turns by healing your wizard for a max of 8 turns. Even if you get the puzzle wrong, it's so quick and easy to try again, which is a breath of fresh air in a scene where complexity makes challenging puzzles. The game does a lot with a little, and I genuinely enjoyed messing around and figuring out what every block did. However, the game is fairly short, meaning some mechanics go slightly underexplored, and it ends right when you're getting good at it. I'd love exploring with starting with a larger grid, for example, and maybe even moving to even larger ones as you continue to get good. This would allow for slightly more kinds of solutions, while also very slowly expanding the scope and not overcrowding the puzzle. However, the game is also very good as is, and I never played a game quite like this one. It's a little short, but I enjoyed it. And yeah, I do think that because of that, it's a little bit expensive for the amount of puzzles you get, which I think is around 20-ish puzzles, I think. $5, 20-ish puzzles. Is kind of a bit of a steep cost when it comes to how simple the game is. But I also don't want to say that you shouldn't charge what you're worth, you know? The world is harsh right now, basically, is what I'm saying, and it's hard to make the calls about, getting paid for your time and being in a competitive market where, there are, Micron is $1, for example, and where could I put Wizard Battle when in comparison to Micron, which has more puzzles and more in-depth mechanics? It's a tough call. Especially because I really do like this game. I think it's very silly. I think it's very clever. But where do I put it? Ooh. You feel like having a couple more puzzles with the assets already made would have been realistic, but that's not the opinion of a game designer. Yeah. That is true. We don't know what game development for this was like behind the scenes. We just have this product. The price shouldn't factor into this kind of review, pure quality and enjoyment. That is fair. That is one thing to take away from it. A tier list like this is a different stream review, which would take price into account. Yeah, and I mean, some of this is also on itch exclusives as well. There are some things that can only be found on itch. Like, but sometimes price does factor into enjoyment for a game. For example, if if Wizard Battle was $20, I wouldn't rate it near as well as I would rate it as it is at $5. It's the classical question of viewing games as something to consume or as something else. Like art, yeah, true. It's a difficult question, and so I do factor in price, to a point. Does Wizard Battle reach that point? See, different from a store recommendation type of thing, because you're not reviewing the product on the store, but you're reviewing it as art. Yeah. Oh, it's difficult. Where do I place this, though? Where do I place it? In my opinion, that's what makes a tier list more interesting. True. I'm gonna... Like, there's a lot of good games that I played this time around. B tier is always a solid choice. Yeah, that is true. Higher than Adventureland. I was thinking that, because it's not letting me put it right here. So I guess the tier list itself has spoken and it's going into B tier. It has spoken. The tier list has spoken. Alright, there you go. We may go back and reorganize this a little bit later. Yeah, it is a nice bell curve. Look at that. We are getting a curve. The next game I played is Torre, or Torre Tactics. The game is it's a Pico 8 game, and it does not have its own trailer. This is my own real-time gameplay footage. Just a disclaimer there. And it's a roguelike turn-based tactics game. It's unclear how long a run is. My best run lasted 15 minutes. I was not able to beat the game. Logo. Thank you. Yes, thank you. There we go. It's got a cute logo. I do like it. It would be a shame if I forgot to change the logo for this, because it's cute. Thanks, Mom. The pros is that it's got some really deep mechanics. There's a wide variety of playable characters and starting characters, which I found really fascinating, and there's a lot to explore in this regard. But the cons is that the tutorial is in the store, so it's complicated enough that you couldn't put the tutorial in the actual game, and it's very difficult to decipher. It's kind of like almost a spreadsheet of information just beneath where you buy the game, and that it's a little rough to try to decipher. I'm not sure I even know now how to play this game. My review says, so Torre is a turn-based roguelike strategy game with a strict turn limit and many different starting teams. However, the tutorial graphic is provided is difficult to decipher. For example, a blade is shown for attack, but instead of a number, it might show a boot.
Let's have a drink.
Cheers. Yeah, a blade is shown for attack, but instead of a number, it might show a boot. The boot correlates to a character's ability to dash, I think. Which means it attacks characters' boots until there is none, and then attacks HP, I think. This system is needlessly complicated, and requires the players to memorize not just what your own characters can do, but every character in the game. As you can fight them regularly, especially if your own units die and come back as a zombie next round. Let's see. While there are some good elements, I think the game suffers from overcomplication and a lack of in-depth tutorial. Is it worth it? I wouldn't buy it personally, but if it sounds interesting, there's a lot of different ways you can play, which might justify its price. Yeah. I don't think I enjoyed it really quite that much, but there is a, I think there is a lot here if you want to explore, and I think there's, yeah, I think that if you can understand how to play the game, it could be really fun. Hey, Jay Chili! Welcome in. Thank you so much for being proud of me. Can we get a shout out for Joe quick? He's been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom lately, and I haven't been able to watch, and I really miss hanging out with you, bud. Thank you so much for stopping by. Right, as I was saying, I think this game is, like, it has a lot of depth and a lot of cool tactics, but it's really complicated to understand, and that gets in its way greatly. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with where I put it. But if it had a better tutorial, I think I would have a lot of fun with this, because I love roguelikes. So, if anybody out there can like, decipher what this game means, then I would be grateful. You didn't waffle at all, so don't question now. Yeah, true. Wait, you didn't waffle at all. I'm not used to hearing you say waffle. It's catching me a little off guard. This next game also didn't have its own trailer, so this is also my own footage from playing the game. This game is called Lawn Buster for Hire. And, it is a top-down puzzle game. Like, there's some action elements to it, but it's mostly figuring out how to move to mow the lawn as best as you can. The pros is that it's got challenging gameplay and fascinating gimmicks. The cons, though, is that the music is very loud and overbearing, and the game is also pretty perfectionist. Which can work in a game's favor, but, like, I just wasn't sure I liked how it went around, how it went about doing that. A run, though, of the game is about 10 minutes, and you have to basically save up money to pay rent. Let's see, the pros, I said, right, no, I already did that, or it was Unforgiving and Perfectionist. Lawn Buster for Hire is a game where you need to mow a lawn as fast as possible, while also fulfilling secondary requirements. I can respect the game for introducing you to a single mechanic at a time. I can respect the game for trying interesting things over and over again. However, all these puzzles under intense time pressure took away from my enjoyment, and I was feeling a bit lost and confused. The music's overbearing volume, without any way to change it, did not help. The ending I got was cute, though. Is it worth it? It's not to my taste. Like, I think they did fine with the game itself, but, like, yeah, you are introduced to one mechanic at a time, but it gets really complicated really fast, and just, yeah, it's not for me. It's not for me. I think it's a fine game, though. Especially at its $1 price point. So I'm going to... Right, there it is. I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. Like, I think its experience delivered way more consistently than Adventurelamp, even though I think Adventurelamp is way more polished. So I'm gonna put them in that order. And I think I'm gonna move Cthulhu Pub down to D tier, because I think there's a bit of a polish and quality jump between Cthulhu Pub and Homewind, I think. even though, as I said, like, Homewind could use some polish itself, I think there's still a bit of a jump there. Womp womp. Yeah, we're probably gonna go over the whole list at the end, and, make sure everything is in the place that I think it deserves to be. But next up, we've got another kind of puzzle-ish platformer called Electrogene. Let's go ahead and pull that up here. And
Let's have a drink.
cheers! So Electrogene plays with light and darkness. So yeah, it's a little over an hour. I think I didn't quite make it to the end. I think there was a couple levels still for me to beat. But the price varies depending on where you buy it. I think it's cheaper on itch, I think. But the pros is that it's a fun premise involving the game becoming easier the more you die. It's got a good soundtrack, and its art style is clean and easy to understand. The cons? It is a glitchy mess. I say that affectionately, but it is fascinating. My review goes as such. Perhaps my computer's age is showing. Perhaps stream made the game lag. Or perhaps it is simply every death creating a new entity on the floor. Regardless, Electrogene started off strong, with reliable platforming and color-coding what was safe and what was not. However, as the game progressed and things got harder, every death introduced more and more lag as another light bulb was dropped onto the floor. This caused my jumps to vary widely in height, often out of my control, and made what should be easy sections near impossible, often sending me rocketing toward the ceiling where I had no choice but to embrace death. Is it worth it? Has good parts, but there are other games that do what it does better. And yeah, I think I still stand by that a couple months later. Like, I am really open to admit that sometimes as I stream, it does introduce more lag than is intended, but I feel like there is some optimization issues involving all these extra entities that you leave lying around, because the more times you die, it becomes very, very clear that the game is lagging more and more. Like, I imagine on a better computer, the game would run way better, but these are just my experience. And I have to admit that I did like how it handled the light puzzles, and how the game is actively made easier by the more times you fail, because you can see where you're going. But I'm going to put Electrogene... I think I'm gonna put it at the top of D tier. I think. Yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna put it. Simply because of the bugs getting in the way of my experience. Yeah, I think that's where we're, I think that's all I have to say on it. I think that's all. Next on the list, we've got Plunge. I have a lot of feelings about Plunge. Like, the length is about an hour per run. It's a roguelike, top-down strategy, turn-based, post-apocalyptic game, at $5. And my pros: stunning art style. Look at that lovely, lovely bias. The tutorial level design is very good, and the feeling of speed is very engaging. The cons is that the hub world is annoying to navigate. The charge system is underwhelming, and the hidden potion system is a little bit outdated. And late game maps can force you into taking damage. So, I kind of have to explain how this game works. You have this sort of top-down-ish world, and you move in a straight line until you hit an obstacle. This means that a lot of the game features you taking a look at the world around you and determining where straight lines will keep you safe and where you can take out enemies, etc. Because if you hit an enemy, they also take damage. Let's see, my review is, I want to like this game more than I do. I've been around the indie scene, and I've seen how hard it is to make turn-based roguelikes work, in my opinion. There's a lot of mixed reviews on a lot of turn-based roguelikes. I think this is the best one I've played in a long time. The game takes place on a grid of squares, and when you move, you must keep going until you hit a barrier. This speed allows the game to overcome one of the largest gripes I have with the genre. Thank you for telling me about the logo, I forgot again. It's a good logo too, so many good logos this time around. Like, you guys, like, developers, you guys did an amazing job with a lot of these. I love them so much. Right, okay, where was I on my review? Right, the game takes place in a grid of squares, and when you move, you keep going until you hit a barrier. This speed allows the game to overcome one of the largest gripes I have with this genre, mobility. By making the player move so fast, areas feel satisfying to solve well, and is one of the game's biggest wins in my book. The tutorial levels for each section are also intuitive and great for learning how things operate before throwing you into bigger challenges, though the fact that you have to play these tutorials every time you do a run is a bit slow. In fact, I think a lot of my gripes with the game could be solved with 1 or 2 adjustments. One of the biggest is making the hub world easier to navigate. When you lose a run, typically you want to get right back in and try again. The hub world hurts this by being a maze of difficult to navigate corridors. It feels as if I'm being punished by the game itself for losing, making the only place I can easily enter be Act 1, instead of, for example, Act 3. My next gripe is charges, which is the perks you get during a run to change your gameplay. Something just feels missing about it. Every few floors you get a chance to pick up one from a merchant, and you can hold up to 3 at a time. Any more than that and you have to throw out the ones you already have. You start out with a fairly limited pool, with more being unlocked as you progress. Most of them, at least from this beginning point, are very underwhelming on their own, making them feel rather stale very quickly. Overall, I'd say I like this game, but a multitude of flaws keeps it from being one I would return to frequently. Is it worth it? If turn-based roguelikes are your thing, this one is very good, but if you're iffy on them like me, it might not be for you. Yeah, I do appreciate just how fast, like, how fast-paced this can be while also still being kind of a puzzle roguelike, and I really got to appreciate that after having tried a lot of different ones over the years. I really like it. I like that part, a lot. But, I think in total, I think we're gonna put it in B tier. I think we got another B tier game. I think we're gonna put it above Fake Illusions. Yeah, I think we've got a B tier. I think we got a good B tier here. Like, I did come back to this a couple times while I was, thinking about this review, and I almost beat the game. I almost beat it, but then the game did glitch. I haven't been able to replicate this glitch, but it made it so that way the world was invisible, and so I couldn't even see what the final boss was, which was kind of sad. At least I think it's the final boss. If it's not the final boss, I'm a little bit surprised. But I think it's 3 acts. I think. There seems to be room for 3 acts. Need more water? I'm still about halfway on the cup right now. Maybe that just means I haven't been hydrating enough. But I think I'm confident where it is. I think it's an upper B tier kind of experience for me. Our next game on the list is A Nightmare's Trip. This is a visual novel, and it is kind of a slice of life game, kind of surreal, and it's coming in at $8. It took me about 5 hours to read out loud, but I imagine if you're not reading it out loud, it's probably going to be like 2 to 3 hours, probably. The pros is that it's got adorable characters, funny dialogue, and the choices do change your narrative. Straighten up, posture check, thank you, Snoop Pigeon. Keeping an eye on my back for me. The cons is that one of the characters, Yume, their sprites are slightly unpolished, and chapter numbers appear at the end of chapters, which is kind of confusing. Getting tired, gonna head out for now. Alright, Wormpole, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. Yeah, so the chapter titles and numbers appear at the end of chapters, which is very confusing because it just described what just happened, and it's kind of weird. And there are a couple characters in the game that are also underexplored. A Nightmare's Trip is a relaxing visual novel exploring the life of a nightmare visiting a fictitious city. The opening, however, is powerful, intense, and jarring, and I love that. The black and white of the opening paving the way for this world to not be the normal you'd expect. The story is very episodic, with each excursion having little to do with one another, but each plays its own humor and style. That said, spending more time with these characters, and perhaps even having the groups intermingle more, would have been a welcome sight that would push this game over the top. That being said, it's still a wonderful game that I enjoyed playing. Is it worth it? I really like it. Some people might consider it a bit short, but I think it's a good length. I don't think I want it to be any longer than it is. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is really nice. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it's very silly, and the characters are well designed, and each one having kind of this different aesthetic, just showing that they're from different worlds, because point is, you're kind of visiting a city that is a crossroads between dimensions, and I think that's really cool. I think I'm alright with putting a Nightmare's Trip above Excaliburian, I think. I do really like this game. I think it's sweet. I like it. Next up, unless there's something else I want to talk about with this one. No, I think I covered all my points. Short, sweet, to the point. Our next game, though, is called Elden Path of the Forgotten. And it's about 3 hours long, $16. It's a top-down adventure RPG with a heavy emphasis on, its atmosphere. And I think that atmosphere is really great, and for the most part, a lot of the game is also pretty intuitive, which is important for a game with so little dialogue. Like I said, it's focusing mostly on its atmosphere, and that can be a kind of difficult thing to do. But the cons is that it's a very buggy game. A lot of the world design is very open, and that can lead to you getting lost or going in circles. And you're also unable to rebind keys, which is kind of an important thing for accessibility and just playing in general. Also, I didn't notice that the logo's actually changed through since this trailer was released. I do like its updated logo, but that's beside the point. We're not here to judge the logos. We'd be here all day if I also did a logo tier list. That's not what we're here for today. Right, that's where I was. B tier look. Just slap them all in B tier, it's great. Here we go. My review. Elden tries a lot of things, but never excels at the goals it sets for, except for maybe the atmosphere, which is oppressive and looming, and I really quite like. However, weapons and combat feel a bit clunky, especially when fighting more than one enemy at a time. The bird shop is broken and won't actually charge you, and the story tries to pull a twist, but doesn't have quite enough setup to pull it off properly. That said, I did have fun with the cheese I found around every corner, but I keep wishing for just a little bit more. You might be able to find better for the price, but it's not bad if it's on sale. I think... What do I think about this game? I think the glitches in particular that the game has could make a pretty fun speedrun, honestly. Like, there's some good movement, there's some good spells and magic, and I do enjoy just running around in the game, but there's a level of polish that I think it also needs. B tier? I'm thinking it might lead the pack of C tier, honestly. Like, there's a lot that it needs, and I don't think it has. But it is good in its own right. Just, some of it's not to my taste. And I think that's a lot of what C tier can hold, is, like, not quite being my thing. So I think Elden can make a good home in C tier. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with it being there. Next up, we've got Theorem, which is another puzzle game. I played a lot of them the past 6 months. It's a top-down puzzle, and it's got 50 levels for $1, and each one of them is like 3 to 15 minutes, I'd say, roughly. Pros, plenty of mechanics which work well together. You don't get to see them so much in this particular gameplay footage that I have, because, again, I had to put my own footage out there because I could not find a trailer. It might have one, but I could not find it. Logo, thank you. Thank you. There it is. Thank you. Yeah, it has plenty of mechanics that work well together, but the cons is that it's got some game-breaking bugs, and there's no undo button. So if you make a mistake while playing this level, you have to start all over again, which is, I'll just say it, not my favorite thing in the world. My review starts with, Theorem has a lot of things going for it. A simple premise. You can't land the cube on the side that has an X. Rotate the cube from start to end around various obstacles. It's explained and executed beautifully with distinct shapes and colors to help identify everything's purpose. However, things begin to fall apart near the end, as teleporters were quite buggy and would sometimes glitch your cube to a side it shouldn't be on and softlock you. However, that is the largest issue facing a rather solid game overall. Is it worth it? Despite bugs, I had a lot of fun with the game. Good value for buck. And, yeah, I stand by that. I think if the teleporters worked a little bit better, I would enjoy the experience even more. But there's a lot going on in the game. Like, it introduces you to new mechanics, I want to say like every 10 levels or so, about. Maybe less. And I had a lot of fun with just messing around and seeing if I could solve whatever was happening. Like, God. My brain is hurting right now a little bit. As it seems to when I try to review puzzle games, like, games that are just the puzzle can be a little bit, I want to say, difficult to review because there's a lot to consider with it, like how well does it convey information, like how cool, like how much do I enjoy the puzzle mechanics as they are. And like, there's also always the thing that when I'm playing these, I have an audience watching me, which means it can be a little bit rough to, like, actually focus through the puzzle. So I imagine I might have been able to make it to the end on a lot more of these if I was just doing this in my own time. Where do I put Theorem? Where do I put it? I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than Micron, I think. So I think that's where I'm gonna put it. I'll have to decide, like, where... How could you put Signals in D tier? Welcome in, why? Have you played Signals? Like, I went over, like, my reasoning for that. JK, though. I was gonna be surprised if you had. But yeah, I covered that one a while ago. It would take a while for me to go over the points on that one. But I think Theorem can be a comfortable B tier! B tier! That brings us to our next game, though, which is the Tori 1 and Tori 2, or rather Tori 3D and Tori 2. I played these back-to-back on the same stream, so it was kind of difficult to actually review them back-to-back. I wasn't expecting that it would be that hard, but I do have to, like, keep in mind, like, which one was in Tori 3D and which one was in Tori 2. The counts always win. Yes, the counts always win. They do. They do. I feel like there might be some bias in, that, King of the Castle might need to fix with, winning teams. Tori looked fun. It is fun. So these Tori 1 and Tori 2 are 3D platforming retro-style games, and they're fast-paced and have an emphasis on being able to be speedrun, which is really cool. The length of Tori 3D is about an hour, I'd say, with some added replayability and secrets and stuff. The pros: it's got great aesthetics, tight platforming, and a great soundtrack. The cons, though, is that the metal system is a little bit tight on timing, and the city truck cycles hurt the feeling of speed. So, like, relatively small gripes overall. I found that you have the Tori in that Ukraine bundle. Yeah. That's how I get a hold of a lot of these games, so I'm able to play them. I like to, like, promote them outside of bundles as well, because, like, it can hurt developers to just give their games away for free, on such a regular basis, but they do, and I gotta appreciate that. And I'm trying to encourage people to support devs outside of charity as well. Like, it's the least I could do for being provided with so many games for such a, like, for such a deal, right? You forgot about that bundle for a long time? Yeah. And to be fair, I did too with, like, some of the bundles I have on there. But now with my Tiny Game Tuesday series, I'm getting to play a lot of them. Where was I? Right, my review for Tori 3D. Tori 3D has one simple objective: go fast. The game handles its basic controls very well, and rewards the player for cutting corners and learning the course. A couple mechanics do go against the speed the game intends, such as moving platforms on a cycle, but overall the experience is fun and skill-based. There are 3 characters to complete levels with, mixing up the gameplay and allowing you to approach the same levels in new ways. Good, simple fun. Is it worth it? I'd say it's smooth, fun, and fast, well worth the price, at $1. And yeah, I think Tori 3D I'm gonna put right here. Because we're about to cover Tori 2 in a minute, I can talk about how, like, some of the pitfalls of Tori 3D's gameplay while I, cover Tori 2, which kind of fixes a lot of Tori 3D's pitfalls, because it's a sequel, and sometimes that actually happens with sequels. So we're not gonna linger too long on Tori 3D, so we can talk about Tori 2. This moment. Oh, that's your favorite moment of the stream so far? Hell yeah! I'm glad, why? I'm glad. So this one's a little bit longer. It took me about 2 hours to complete. Same price point though. And it also same, like, genres and a lot of the same pros too, with its great aesthetics and tight platforming and great soundtrack. The cons is that the final boss is a bit jank, because this game does have a final boss to it. Like, Tori 2 takes the original and makes it even faster and better. Gone is waiting for cycles and slow-moving platforms, and it introduces boost pads, water currents, and other methods of increasing that fast-paced feeling I play games like this for. I will say one of the things added I did not like was the final boss. Bosses in these type of platformers are very hard to pull off, and I think this one misses the mark in a couple of areas, such as being the only place in the game with a circular arena and very tight windows for dodging attacks. But even with that, I enjoy this game even more than the original, and it has earned its place in my heart. Is it worth it? It improves on almost everything the predecessor did, incredible value. So if you like Tori 3D, I think you will love Tori 2. Like, I think it's either gonna be an S or top of A tier. Favorite moments when you first met me? That wasn't in this stream. That wasn't in this one, Joe. Unless you're a time traveler. Whoa. The stream is sponsored by Tori. No, if anything, it's sponsored by Jubilee. Shoutouts to the dev in here earlier. I would hang with time travelers. This stream is sponsored by time travel. The more you know. I think because S tier's a little empty right now, I'm gonna put Tori 2 up here because it really does take what Tori 3D did and just kicks it up a notch. You love these games? Yeah. I think they're, like, some of the, on the edge of, what would be under-discovered. I think, like, God, brain blank. So you played all his games, really fun, cute platformers. Yeah, he does a great job. And I just love, the aesthetic that he goes for as well. Now buy Raid Shadow Legends. You don't buy Raid Shadow Legends. You do microtransactions in Raid Shadow Legends. But yeah, I do like this creator a lot. Has a lot of fun games, and I highly recommend supporting. Exactly, buy. I guess that is true. If you have enough microtransactions, you would be buying the game, huh? Anyway, I have no plans to be sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. No plans. No plans. Yet. I don't think it's a great idea for me, no. What game did we play next? We played...
Let's have a drink.
Hydrate! Cheers! We did play Cheers. We played Stars Die. Let me go ahead and pull up that logo here. Boop.
Hamster.
I don't think Hamster would necessarily like being on, like, in Stars Die, I don't think. Now, I know earlier this stream I said I don't really play horror games. There is one exception to this, and that is atmospheric horror. And I think this is a really good example of what that is, where it's got a very creepy feel. The game is $5. Each playthrough is a little bit under an hour, but there's about 5 endings. Under genres, we've got psychological horror, multiple endings, sci-fi, 3D, open world, exploration, cosmic horror, atmospheric horror. For my pros, it's a very relaxed, refined aesthetic. It's fun to explore. It's a little bit weird with this soundtrack to listen to while looking at these visuals. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, it still works, weirdly enough. It's approachable for those who are bad with horror, like myself. I think you get a lot of some of those creepy vibes without having to worry about being jump scared, which is really great for scaredy cats like me. But for cons, it hesitates to bring the player in on the lore. There is a timed aspect where if you don't talk to people, they will continue on with their story, but it's so loose that, like, even if you explored the entire island, sometimes they might not have moved on with what they're doing. It's a cool idea that I don't know if it lives up to its potential in this way. Horror game. It's a very atmosphere-heavy kind of horror. It's not like jump scares. It's not like creepy monsters chasing you. It's kind of more of a sit and think kind of horror game. So, it's definitely not the ones that you play, Joe. Let's see, was there any more? No, those are my only cons here, with the hesitates to bring player in on the lore, and the timed aspect is a little bit loose. Might be looking for certain key points being done for progressing the character placement. I definitely know it's not that, because you can also progress characters by trying to interact with them. Yeah, I know you like poop your pants horror, but this is not poop your pants horror, which means I like it. What it does is, every character is, like, going about their work, doing their job, and eventually they will move. Joe is literally canceling the stream tonight to play it. Oh, no. Oh, yes, please play the game. It's fun. Right. So every character is on a timer. So they will move on to, like, their next placement after a certain point in time. I have seen it. You're playing Tears of the Stars Die! Right, my review. This is not a standard horror game. There are no jump scares, there are no chases, just existential dread in the face of pending disaster. As someone who can't play most games in the horror genre, this scratches my itch for creepy content quite well, with an eerie atmosphere, chilling soundtrack, and looming dread. The way the game handles its lore could use a bit of work in my opinion, as they provide very little basis for what questions we might have until the final decision of the game, feeling as though you're being dragged along until you fully understand what the stakes are. That said, the characters are interesting, and each one has their own personalities, motivations, and principles which shape their storylines and affect the endings. I feel as though if they'd been given more time to show interactions with one another before the finale, choices would have been more impactful and meaningful. But even as it stands, the game's vibes are still on point. 150 hours of Tears of the Kingdom? Like, okay. I got The Void Rains Upon Her Heart 6 months ago, and I've only put 166 hours into it. How have you put 150 hours into Tears of the Kingdom in about 2 weeks? How? How? How, Joe? How? How many hours are there in 2 weeks? Hold on, let me pull out the calculator quick. This is an intervention. Calculator. Yeah, dedication. Let's see. We're gonna go with 14 times 24. Okay, so, in the past 2 weeks, there's been 336 hours. To have streamed 150, or to have played 150 hours of Tears of the Kingdom would mean about half the time spent this week, the past 2 weeks, would have been Tears of the Kingdom. About half the time. If that would be true, that is utterly ridiculous, Joe. Yeah, we know you don't play off stream. I'm feeling a little bit sus. We might have a little bit of an exaggeration here. I don't know. The math seems a bit off. I know you play King of the Castle. I know you play King of the Castle. Been streaming about 8 hours a night for the last 2 weeks. Well, to be fair, it hasn't actually been 2 weeks yet. We have a couple days left. That's still a lot. Yeah, that's a number you pulled out of your ass. So, I sense some exaggeration. Anywho, back on topic with Stars Die. I feel like this game I think it handles its atmosphere really well. And I think, like, it's gorgeous. I love, I believe this community is called, like, the Haunted PS1, I think, where they use the PlayStation 1 graphics to create, like, new horror games. And I think this one handles it very well, that aesthetic. I'll put it in A tier for now, because I do really, really like it. Like, it's got a nice, relaxing pace, because you can also turn off the timed events if you want to, which doesn't change the gameplay much, because they don't really move on anyway, but, like, it also just allows you to explore the island as well, and there's a lot of detail put into it, and it runs very smoothly too. So I really like it. I've recommended it before. I do like Stars Die. That brings us to our next game, which is Welcome to Elk. This is a, well, okay, sure, yeah, it's a mature game. It's a 2D story-based game with some mini-games, and it took me about 5 hours, and but I read out loud, so it might take you a little bit less, or it could take you more if you play the mini-games for longer than I did, because, yeah, there are mini-games to this. It's $15, and the pros is that it's got a light and goofy aesthetic. The minigames are well made, and the whimsy is, quote, off the charts. The cons is that the plot is not particularly grounded, and half of it is resolved off-screen. My review. I scrolled the tier list by accident. Let's see, I'm on mixed opinion about this game. I enjoy it, but it felt unfocused, and was difficult to get into the game, constantly breaking the fourth wall. The story is based on several stories told by real people, grounded in personal experience. However, the game doesn't do a great job of weaving these together, as instead of one flowing narrative, it pulls you out regularly to tell you how real the story was. This can be really cool, however, I feel that the world itself needed to be more fleshed out. For example, we are told who the doctor is on the island, and
Something, bull in a china shop. That's a pretty bad one-liner, but no one's around to hear it, so it doesn't matter.
Tia was here for that part of the tier list. Yes. Yeah, Joe exaggerating, saying he's been playing for 150 hours on Tears of the Kingdom, which I doubt. I doubt strongly. Right, where was I in my review? Let's see, the game doesn't do a great job of weaving these stories together, and instead of one flowing narrative, it pulls you out regularly to tell you just how real the story was. This can be cool, however I feel the world itself need to be more fleshed out. For example, we are told who the doctor is on the island, but yet they play no important part in any story. Your player character, Frigg, is brought onto the island to learn carpentry, but the game refuses to let you do any, or even building maintenance. I feel like leaning more into the slice of life would make
Bonk your head.
That's right, bonk your head on it. I feel like leaning more into the slice of life would make the reality of these stories hit more. That said, the minigames are fun, and I did get invested in Frigg's safety and felt dread when dealing with the game's antagonist. Still a good time and full of whimsy. It's like, I said I would personally wait for a sale, but more people seem to like it more than me. And I think the effort into that has kind of changed my mind a bit. Like, there's a lot of detail put into this game. I would say that, yeah, it is worth it for the price point, if this is your thing. And what they're doing here is very unique, and I think it's really cool to see that kind of just brought into this, you know? I know that there's a lot of stuff that's inspired by real events, but I don't know if I've seen as many video games that have explored this sort of take yet, to have games inspired by real experiences. And I think that there's still a little bit of world building that I think would help a lot, because like I said, having more of the slice of life would help a lot for grounding just how reality is, because I feel like that's part of what makes this game hit so hard, is that reality hurts, man. Reality hurts. I think, like, even though I'm really mixed on the game itself, I think what it's doing is just so good. Is it the top of B tier? Like, I think what brings it down is purely personal taste. So I think top of B tier is pretty dang good. Yeah, I might change my mind in a little bit more. You're now on your computer. Well, there you go. There you go. You're on your computer. Woo! I believe that there is a setting that can allow you to use your walk-on by doing -- walk-on, but I forget if I need to enable it or not. I might need to enable it. Let's see. Our next.
And the freshest thing in this kitchen is that pigeon.
Look at that. It works for pigeon. It works for pigeon. Hang on. Before we get too distracted, we're moving on to the next game of Depaneur Nocturne. Depaneur. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. It's French. It's French. It's Canadian French, and I'm doing my best. It's $5. It's a comedy surreal walking sim. Yeah, Depaneur Nocturne. You're playing Don't Starve in a world where you don't play Weber. Ooh. Need me in a call to pronounce it? No. No. I'm fine. I think. The game can take 5 to 15 minutes if you rush it, and more than 30 if you explore your options. Pros, it's relaxing, funny, there's no pressure, the language selection is excellent, and there are secrets. A lot of fun secrets. The cons is that the limited palette can make it hard to distinguish depth. For example, the cashier's lizard snout kind of blends in with the rest of her face. You can pronounce it wrong, Shuckle, but we will tease you and Snoop will especially. Thanks, Cloaked. Thanks. That simultaneously makes me feel a lot better and a lot worse. Okay. Review. I'm not entirely sure what I expected when I played this game, but the world is full of intrigue, magic, curiosities, and just plain fun. Just go shopping, buy whatever you want, or even things you don't want. The cashier has many stories to tell you about her life and how she sees the world, and the game features a top-tier bathroom. The game has a gorgeous aesthetic, and it's an all-around fun experience. I recommend this. You won't because you don't know how to pronounce it yourself. Yeah, top-tier bathroom. Like, that bathroom is B-tier. The B is for bathroom. Like, absolutely. Can offer both the France French and the Canadian French pronunciation. Joe's lying. Orange has been streaming it every day and he only has 85 hours. Ooh, look at that, Joe. You're lying. But yeah, I want to touch on, like, how the language selection works in the game. You enter the shop, and the cashier says hello, says, bonjour, and you can reply bonjour, or you can say hello, and that's how you select your language for the game. But you can switch it anytime you want. I think it's a really good way to do it, and it keeps you immersed in the game itself, and I think that's really cool. I should play Tears of the Kingdom for less than 85 hours. 123 hours is just the math you've been playing every day, too? Okay, you know what? 123 hours is... I think that makes a lot more sense. It's also French-Canadian reality. Yeah, it's a great way to handle it. It's really, really nice. 40 hours? Yeah, unfortunately Cloaked has a life. Okay, I think for this game, I'm gonna put it just below Jubilee, I think. Like, I had a lot of fun with this game. I also had a lot of fun with Jubilee. Yeah. You wanted more of this game? Agreed. Like, its aesthetic is so good. There's so much lore. That you can pet the cat. Like... It's really nice. It's really nice. You still have questions. Yeah, I'd love it more in this world. Because it's really fun and fascinating. And just a good time. The rest of the lore is in French. Ah, dang it! Dang it! Let me see. Is there anything else I want to touch on with that? You'll take it. You'll take the French lore. French lore! Okay. The next game we have is the Dr. Cat, which is a sort of puzzle arcade game. Yeah, it's a match 3 kind of puzzle game, and I'd say its length is about 30 minutes. You can play it in your browser for free, or you can pay what you want to help support the developer. Looks like Dr. Mario, kind of Dr. Mario-esque, except you use squares instead of pills. And my pros are that it's engaging. The cons is that there's no endless or free play mode, and the tutorial could be worded slightly better. Let's see. Yeah, my review here. The Dr. Cat is a simple puzzle game where you drop blocks and rotate the pieces to compress them into more valuable pieces, trying to get the highest score you can. Personally, it took a bit to figure the ins and outs of the system, but it works well. The biggest drawback, in my opinion, is how short-lived it is with only 10 levels. Having an endless or remix of some kind would be interesting, would be something I would have played the hell out of to try and get a good score. The tutorial could use a bit of rewording as well, as being told how to stir didn't convey to rotate the pieces. Overall, though, I'd play again. Is it worth it? I think it's pretty good. Go try it for yourself. The bigger point is to remember self-care. Self-care is very important in this day and age where we have Tears of the Kingdom. Like, take care of yourself, please. Please. Let's see. In your non-mobile playthrough, you made friends with a pig guy. You're trying to make him a house. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, to make houses, you kind of need to kill pigs, and it's just in a cycle. Because you need pig butts to make a pig house, funnily enough. Anywho, yeah, I wish this game had an endless mode or more challenges. Like, I really like the game, and I guess the biggest con is that I wish there was a little more of it. Which is honestly a very good con to have. Like, I played a little bit more of it to get the footage here, because the game doesn't have a trailer. Like, a lot of games made for just, like, the Pico 8 don't necessarily have a trailer, because they're just, like, little fun games that people made. And yeah, just in general, I like the game. I think it's fun. Like, there is a bit of a timed aspect that, like, your score is how many points you managed to fit into the cauldron and how long it took you. Yeah, you have those two things. And that can make it be more engaging as well to complete these puzzles well. I think for the Dr. Cat, are we gonna fit another game in B tier? B tier's gonna fill up the entire screen. I definitely liked it more than Fake Illusions. Is Wizard Battle getting a demotion? Maybe. It does make the tier list more aesthetic to do it like this. But the thing is that, like, we still have more games to go. Yeah, B tier hype! B tier hype! I guess we'll leave it like that for the moment and I can revisit. Let's see. Next up, we've got Roguelite, which is well, I'll give you one guess what genre this game is. Like, with a name like this, like, one guess. Okay. Tia, I can help you with Don't Starve Forever later, but it's not a great time right now. Roguelite is a roguelite, platformer shooter, and it's a pay what you want. Takes about 10-15 minutes to do a run. And for my pros, it's that it's easy to learn and has responsive controls. Cons is that the darkness makes it easier to get screwed by RNG, which, I mean, as you'd expect from a game that plays with light. But you also cannot aim up. That's one of my biggest problems with this game, is that you cannot aim upward in a game with flying enemies, which is a little bit rough. You know, but you just tell you everything's going to shit, it's a you problem. Fair enough, fair enough. Use the stream account so you can transfer your horse from Breath of the Wild. Fair enough, fair enough. I kind of ran into that issue myself with Tears of the Kingdom, but that's a whole other thing. Okay. Roguelite shines light on a fascinating premise. Get it? It shines light on a managing your resources between seeing and fighting. This dual purpose of resources creates a wonderful gameplay loop, in my opinion. Do you kill the monster, or do you light the lantern? Is there a way I can do both with only one shot? The game isn't so hard.
That's funny, I'm so funny!
Yeah, exactly. The game isn't so hard to make every shot stressful, but it is challenging until you get further up the upgrade tree, and it makes getting better at the game feel rewarding. Now, there are a couple of things that get in the way a little. Let's start with how disorienting the darkness is. Let's say you do run out of arrows and have to navigate in the dark. You're gonna die pretty fast, right? Except if you did a good job and cleaned out the enemies and there are no spikes around, you could get stuck for a long time as you scramble around in the darkness. One thing I think might help was if the camera followed the player a little more closely, as it tends to lag behind a bit. This means when you're not getting any visual feedback, you wouldn't even know where on screen you currently are. Which can be a problem if you know where you need to go, but don't have the light to do so. The other thing I think could improve the game is being able to aim the bow at an angle. Currently you can only aim horizontally, and this is fine, but would bring opportunities for more rewarding play and ways to fend off flying enemies, or hit some of those dang lanterns. Regardless, a very good game that I had fun playing. Is it worth it? Yes, I'd recommend paying at least $5 if you plan to spend money on it. Cause it is pay what you want, so you could pay $0, or, yeah, my recommended price is about $5. And whew. I think the premise is very good. I think the art style works very well. Like I said, it could use a little bit of, like, maybe faintly see your outline in the darkness, because, like, when you're in complete darkness, you can't see your outline, but if you're in partial darkness, you can. Like, I think being able to see a little bit more would help with navigating out of precarious situations, but maybe that's a me thing. Maybe that's me. Regardless, I think that roguelite is... I think it's a really good roguelike, honestly. I think it's really... I like it a lot. I like it. It's... like, it's a bit short-lived because, you know, after a point you do, like, you reach the end of the upgrade tree, and it's not the most challenging thing in the world, but I think it does a lot with its premise. Like, doing a lot with a little is, frankly, very cool. You played it yourself a long time ago, and you have to agree it's a very solid game. Yeah. Like, yeah, I just think in general, they did a good job. They did a good job with it. So I think I'm gonna leave that there. It's time. This game doesn't have a trailer, so this is footage from my own playthrough sped up. Welcome to Murder at Hen's Roost. Okay. This game is pay what you want. The length, I have no idea how long this game is, because I did not make it to the end. It's a visual novel, it's murder mystery, and it's romance. Let's just be blunt here, it's a romance novel. Oh shit, here we go again. The pros that I had is that the art is polished. Like, the character art is nice, the backgrounds are very beautiful. I do think that they did a great job with the art. Cons. The game is blatantly misogynistic. It just is. Sometimes Gats is still ugly. Okay, he is a little basic. Yes. He's still well drawn though. He's well drawn. The characters are hard to find likable. The game doesn't really have any player input, meaning it's more of a book than a visual novel, which is a little rough. Like, most visual novels do have some choices you can make, if anything, just to do things in a certain order. And I think this visual novel could have really been helped with that. And the final con is that there's barely any background music, meaning a lot of the time it's mostly like birds chirping or drinks clinking, stuff like that. And I think some subtle background music could have helped a lot. As for my review, let me sum up my experience with the game, with this game up for you. I spent an hour and 40 minutes before we actually encountered the murder. Almost half of this time was spent with female characters sexually harassing the male protagonist. If you like dialogue like, "I'll find a use for a man like you," or "Please don't let me sit with an old man on the train, I'd like someone more attractive," then this is the game for you, because that's how the game goes. That's how the story goes. I promised my chat I'd go back to try and find anything I found redeeming about the game, because it could get better later. But when I returned, most of the dialogue consisted of the two main female characters degrading each other's sexual activity and chest size. I could not continue through what I considered a slog. On the plus side, the art is well done, so credit where credit is due. I hope the next game has a few proofreaders to make it more tolerable, because in its current state, I find it not worth playing. We're going to put this into writer's jail. I'm going to put it beneath Roseblight, because Roseblight had gameplay that I enjoyed, and Murder at Hen's Roost did not have, like, any choices you could make, or interactivity as a whole. So it kind of, it hurts its literal playability to not have playability. Yeah, go to jail. Go to writer's jail. Yeah, it's hard to be hard on games, especially when people put a lot of work into them, but I can't, it goes in writer's jail for having so many misogynistic tropes. Murder at Hen's Roost, so we got misogyny because it's all we got. Yeah. Notably, there are only 3 female characters in the game that I was able to see up until this point, and one of them is entire personality is Innkeeper's wife. And the other 2, entirely just sexually harass the main character because he's just that attractive. And I think that some of the tropes, like, a lot of the tropes that are in the game can be tried and true and good. For example, oh no, there's only one bed in this room that we are sharing, can be really good if the characters already know each other, but as strangers, it's really weird that they're booked in the same room with one bed. Really, really weird. It sounds like an insta-buy, and it's slash joking. Just, having a bit of tea here while I... Okay. Yeah, cause, the trope of, oh no, we have to share a bed can be done really, really well. And, there's another trope that they use with the fake date that also could have been good, because, like, it can be a great way not only for, like, the romantic tension to build, but it can also have 2 characters who don't get along very well get to know each other. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when Ilya can't take no for an answer. Gats, the main character here, clearly is not responsive. He wants to know why he's been sent here. He wants to be left alone. She will not leave him alone. She will not take no for an answer. It makes it a slog. If there was a dash of respect, these tropes could have been something really good. You have, like, these tropes can be a very good foundation. They are tropes for a reason. But the way that these characters interact with each other, it's not chemistry. it's sexual harassment. And I know a lot of people say that, like, oh, reverse the roles and it would be offensive. Like, you would get so offended if a man was sexually harassing a woman like this. And I say you don't need to reverse the genders. It just is. It just is. You know, it just is. If there's only one bed, works with a pair of characters who are either friends or absolutely hate each other, but strangers, that's weird. Yeah, strangers, it's really weird. Yeah, we're already offended. Exactly. Like, learning why tropes work is... Yeah, men are people, end of sentence. End of sentence. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, and... Yeah, learning why tropes work and revisiting the concept would probably result in something that was pretty decent. It's fucking weird and bad. Yeah, that's... We have already cemented it. It's firmly in writer's jail. I think I've said my piece. I don't want to dwell on it too much longer. The next game we have is Safari Zone. And this is also my gameplay footage because the trailer for this game is for kids, supposedly. It's for kids only, so I can't put it in playlists. It's so sweet looking Freddy good. Thank you. I try. I want to have constructive criticism because just tearing people down for, quote, bad writing is not helpful for anybody. It's not. Anywho, this is Safari Zone. It's a 3D casual monster catcher with a focus on an open world and exploration. It's $5, and you can also buy its soundtrack, I think for a similar price as well. And I do like said soundtrack. That's one of my pros here. And the cute creatures are very cute. Did you bring any safari balls? No, I did not. Yeah, the game kind of wears its inspiration on its sleeve, literally being called Safari Zone, because, like, in Pokemon, there is a Safari Zone, and it plays about the same way, with a step counter determining how long you can stay in the national park. I ended up playing almost 2 hours, but there's more content. We'll get into that. The cons, the save system does not work. This is a pretty big negative. You probably want your save system to work for your game. The step mechanic does not mesh well with an open world style. The shop can bug out. The tutorial is slightly misleading, and items are left with unclear usage. Yeah, it sounds like a decent problem. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem. For my review, oh god, I think this is the longest review. I'm gonna get the biggest issue stated first. The save system does not work. I tried several things to make sure it was not just me, but other people have shared that it is an issue, and as of writing, this has not been fixed. These messages date back years, so I think it's safe to say the dev is not going to come back to fix the save system, unfortunately. Let's see. Many issues of this game would be less of a nuisance if that alone worked. So just as a reminder as I talk about the rest of the game is that if you close it, you have to start all over. The premise is this: you go to the park and catalog every creature you can find, and for each one, you get some money to spend in the shop. You have a limited number of steps, so you have to make it count. However, steps are also used up when you fish, which doesn't exactly make sense, and attempting to trap creatures also activates only after you've walked around enough. Speedrun it, problem solved. I guess not having a save system does lend to speedrunning, sure. You don't have to reset your save afterward. If anybody wants to try that, go for it. Let's see. Yeah, attempting to trap creatures also activates after you're walked around enough when it's framed as wait a bit. Considering this is 2 out of 3 methods of cataloging creatures, I feel as though there's a bit of dissonance between the gameplay and the world, as if it's trying to punish you for fishing instead of trapping or catching creatures in the grass. The game supposedly has roguelike elements, but I could not find any aside from having a limited number of steps to explore before you have to go back to town. It's not procedurally generated, or random where you start. Items respawn in the exact same places, and creatures are in the exact same places as well, giving no real reason to have to leave the park except to shop. It feels as though the game is fighting against the step counter at every stage, and I realize this is because the game is heavily inspired by the game's namesake, the Safari Zone from Pokemon, but it fails to lean into the potential of the concept. I also cannot understate how buggy this game is. The shop stopped selling me items even though I had the money. The aforementioned saves are not working. And the roguelike element is not having a functional save. I needed that to catch my breath a little bit here. Whew. The shop stopped selling me items even though I had the money. I've realized after writing this that it's possible that there's a bag limit of how much you can carry. But if so, it was still taking my money and not giving me the item. And like, not telling me what the problem was. So if I do have an inventory limit, that's a bit of a problem. The aforementioned saves not working, and overworld creatures not telling me that I caught them when I first started the game are all pretty glaring issues, and I'm sure there's even more that I did not encounter. Is it worth it? I would say that the game is not polished enough to be worth it, but I recommend the soundtrack. Yeah, this game is not your friend. Agreed. The game is not your friend. I think I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the list. I think I'm gonna put it in D tier because it's important when you're releasing a game to be bought for money, that you are at least responsive to people telling you that there are bugs in your game. Like, I'm not gonna tell you to just, like, to not release a game if there's bugs in it. That's unavoidable. But if, like, there's really game-breaking bugs, like the save system not working, like, listening to people is very, very important. Let me see. There's an inventory limit in Daughter of Dreams they haven't fixed yet, where the items will just render past the edge of the UI if you have too many of one type. But since it would require regenerating with changing crystals like 10 times to get that many items, you marked it as low priority for now. Yeah. I think that's, for now, that does not sound like too big of a problem. Good luck fixing that later. I would say that, like, if your game didn't save, for example, that would be way higher priority. Like, I think at least communicating with your players about why you wouldn't fix these bugs is important. And I have not seen, like, the dev really talk to people who have bought their game. I think that's why I'm putting it this low. It's not that the dev is necessarily the problem with why the game doesn't work. I'm just saying that some communication would have been nice. As it stands, I don't think this game is very fun to play. You've got some saving bugs too, but they cause minor issues like clipping through walls you don't need to fix. Oh, so you need to manipulate the save system to do that wall clip you were talking about. Aha! Everybody ready? Everybody ready to go speedrun the first chapter of Daughter of Dreams? Are we ready? Alright, as for the next games, we don't have many left. but one of these is Adjacency, which is another puzzle game that I decided to play. And this game is a sort of 2D abstract kind of puzzle game, where when you click shapes, you color in the shapes next to it. It's a simple premise with good gameplay twists. Also, it's $3. The game has an undo button. Guys, the game has an undo button. It's got an undo button. It's also got a par system, which I think they handled very well, where you try to complete objectives within a certain number of clicks, and I think they handled that system very well. The cons, though, is that the music clashes with the gameplay sometimes. And when you have a relaxing game, it's kind of important that your music meshes well with your gameplay. But it's a fairly minor thing overall, because you can mute the sound. Okay, my review. I love it when games do something simple but effective, and this is a good example of that. In Adjacency, whenever you click a space that has colors, the spaces next to it will become that color. Get the inside to match the outside to win. There are mechanics added to make this process more complicated, but each one typically has an easy-to-understand tutorial puzzle and still feels well conveyed. The undo button is functional and helpful, especially when trying for par. Speaking of, I love the par system of this game. You could play the entire game without looking at par, the supposed minimum number of times you need to click the colors to solve the puzzle. Or you could have par always visible, a hint at how many clicks a given level needs. It is a beautiful system I wish more puzzle games had. The only downside I can really think of is that one level pack there's a sort of unnerving music, slightly high-pitched and anxiety-inducing, and it doesn't feel like it belongs in this otherwise relaxing and thoughtful game. Luckily, it seems to be just one level set, and you can mute the game's audio for a little bit if it gets to you. Is it worth it? It's a good bang for buck if you like puzzle games. I forget exactly how many puzzles the game itself does have, but I do like it. You know, I think I'm actually gonna move Jubilee up, because we haven't touched on a lot of S rank. That music was annoying. Yeah, I forget which world it was that had that, but it was one particular level that, I don't think meshed well at all. So I think I'm gonna put this in the bottom of A tier, like below Roguelite, because I do like it. I like it. We're above A tier. Dang, selling out to Jubilee. It's a good game, guys. It's a good game. I like it a lot. What is next? Bunny Bye Bye. Alright. This one also doesn't have a trailer. I think it's a Game Jam game. Which is, it was made for a jam. Logo, thank you. Look at how cute that logo is, though, oh my god. It's pay what you want. It took me about 40 minutes to beat this sort of platformer or puzzle game. And for pros, it has great block placing mechanics. Basically, whenever you place a block, it snaps to particular locations that it's allowed to be. And this means you can't it's really hard to trap yourself, which is very nice. Let's see, it's also just the right length for the included mechanics. If they had more, I would gladly play more. But I think they did not overstay their welcome with this. But the cons is that the platforming can still be a little bit clunky, with a little bit of, weird jumps sometimes, and hitting your head, bonk your head, if you will. Bunny Bye Bye is an adorable game jam where you need to clean up your spaceship before your friends come over to party. It's wholesome in nature and has well-done puzzles, and it's got a good amount of levels, and I don't remember being frustrated with any of them, which is a very good thing, especially for something made under constraints. A good time. Is it worth it? It's free and fun. Go try it. Like, yeah, I think this was a lot of fun, and just the premise itself is adorable, and it's really easy as well to retry levels. I think I felt really, like, I had a lot of fun playing the game, and just, in general, it felt like it was easy to approach. So I gotta appreciate that. As for where it goes on the tier list, I think overall, I still like Adjacency slightly more. I think we're gonna still put it in B tier at the top, maybe? Or... No, I think Welcome to Elk still is a little bit better, but I think we're leading the pack of B tier this time, I think. Yeah, B tier! B tier! B tier! Okay. That brings us to a day of maintenance. Oh boy, a day of maintenance. I don't even know where to start with this. It's $20, and it takes about 10 to 12 hours. To be or not to be, that is the question. Okay, I'm gonna spoil. This game is not B tier. I'm spoiling it. Yeah, gay robot game. It's gay robot game time. It's a kind of a visual novel driving sim, with some puzzle elements, and it's very story rich, and it's got a lot of, it's a very atmospheric game as well. You got spoiled. I put the spoiler warning. It's your fault. Pros, it's got a very gripping story with a rich lore and deep topics and just meaning. It's a very philosophical game. Spoiler warning, gay robot. The cons, the truck driving controls are a little loose, and your truck does not have all-wheel drive, which means you can kind of get stuck. I think the drive is on the front wheels, which means if you're going up slopes, sometimes you can get stuck. Yeah, cons is the physics, yeah. And one type of the puzzle is kind of brute force heavy. It's the database one. I think I kind of vented a little bit about it while playing the game, where after a certain point you just don't have enough information to solve the puzzle, and you just have to just keep trying things until it works, and it kind of made me a little miffed. So I didn't really like that puzzle type. Luckily there are several more to do. My review. A dystopia where you are a commodity. You can be replaced at any moment. Still, even knowing this, you have to live your life, talk with friends, do your job. This sort of piece is fascinating in the world of gaming, and I've never found anything quite like it before, especially meshing the visual novel elements with a driving sim. But it really brings context to the monotony. The story itself is rich with emotion and depth, a struggle against the society you find yourself in, and grapple with your own mortality. The only downsides is that the truck's controls can be a bit floaty and sometimes send you tumbling out of control for several minutes, and one of the terminal puzzles changes to brute forcing over a time, which I did not find too engaging. These are shallow problems for an amazing story that left me almost speechless. Is it worth it? This game made me cry, and I would play again for the first time. A steep price, but in my mind, I would pay for that in a heartbeat. It is the best game that I have played in these past 6 months, without a doubt in my mind. Like, sure, there's a lot of big words that the game drops to you in the lore, like, what's the Glen throws? What is reconditioning? Yeah, dang, it's higher than B tier, must be a banger. Yeah, I love this game. I love this game. is so good. It makes me feel things. I can't do it justice to describe this right now. I just love it. I love it so much. Like, I just highly recommend you play this game. I may, like, put some of this on my YouTube at some point. It would mostly be unedited, but God, I needed to play this game when I did. Like, I needed to. I needed to play it. With Micron to the top of C, and the color tile 1 to the top of B? What do you mean? You just want it to be even. That's what you want. No, I think Micron is still a B tier. I think Micron's still B tier. If you want an aesthetic tier list, you're gonna have to make it yourself. You just are. We still have a good bell curve going, okay? Alright. I'm just tearing up a little bit thinking about this game, though. Like, I guess to just be a little bit personal, is that this is the first Tiny Game Tuesday I played after Parker died. And maybe that ends up with a little bit of bias, but it was really nice to just have philosophical discussions with someone. Because, like, the player character and his boyfriend, as you play this, it's so clear that they know each other so well. They can talk to each other about anything. And it's just so touching to have somebody there. God. It's been rough this past month, you know? It's been rough. It's been rough. This game helped me get through a lot of feelings. Like, 'cause it does touch a little bit on grief as well. I mean, they're robots. A lot of the time it's not like it's not as permanent as death, but it does touch on the topic a little bit. And it was really good timing for me to find this game. It just was. It just was. And I think I would have liked it regardless of when I played it, but it was just there when I needed it. It was just there. And I want to... In general, I want to thank game developers for doing what you do. My goodness. I just... yeah. Moving on, there is something that I am not ranking on the tier list. And those of you who know, you know. You know. You know what I'm going to talk about briefly. Notably, we also don't have a trailer, so I'm just gonna put it to black screen for a second. Bye, you gotta go eat. Wait, no, stop. No, it's not Gardener in the Wild Vine. Stop. No. All you know is you're about to cry. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it black screen for a second here. While we talk about Daughter of Dreams. I'm not putting it on the tier list because it's not being sold, it's not finalized yet. It's just not done. But it was made by our very own Cloaked. And the first chapter is out now to play, and yeah, there you go, there's Cloaked. So the current build is for free, and it takes about 4 to 6 hours, and it's a tactics top-down RPG fantasy game. And I have to admit that I am biased playing this game and reviewing this game. So, pros, the game builds strong themes, combat is easy to learn, tough to master, it's well-detailed and clear sprite work, and it has a unique take on friendly fire! A unique take on friendly fire! Cons? The tutorial does need a little bit of work. I believe me and Cloaked did talk a bit about that. Turan will be fine. He just needs 18 years of therapy. Let's see. And another con is that sometimes objects can be a little bit unclear as to what can be interacted with. I remember there was this section of the game where there were tiles on the ground that I had no idea I could turn. And I don't know, like, how to bring to attention that you can interact with them. I just know that it was a little bit obtuse, at least in the current build. Yeah. Time for the review. Let me say, this game is still in a very early build at the time of reviewing, and I am friends with the developer, so there will be bias.
Let's
That
have a
said,
drink.
missed that adding to your notes. Well, there we go. It's good that I wrote a review then. Cheers! That said, the game is beautiful. The world is fascinating. I have to stretch. You know, you gotta build the anticipation for the review. We have to build it. Because this is it's the pinnacle of what Cloaked's been working on for the past long while, you know? We gotta... The anticipation, right? The dramatic tension. It's gotta be here, man. Okay. Yeah, stretch is required to play Daughter of Dreams. Yeah, self-care. Self-care. Like, you have to self-care if Duran will not. It's among your top 25 greatest accomplishments. $25? You've made 25 games? Okay, let's see, where was I? Right, there will be bias. That said, the game is beautiful, the world is fascinating, and the story threads already have a deep meaning that I tend to be fond of. The ability to choose your dialogue, in the way, like, I did not type this very well. I did not, see, I liked the way that you could pick the dialogue, including seeing who in your party is speaking, which is a take I don't really see often. It allows you to simultaneously see multiple facets of your party, while also giving a surprising amount of agency. Combat makes it clear that HP is a resource to be used, as it is designed to be anti-backtrack in nature and will heal you as soon as combat is over. How you use the resource is up to you, as it can be used liberally. And I love that about the current build, as it gives you freedom in combat that I've never seen before in a tactics game. What I mean by this is, like, sure, you can friendly fire a lot. That was how I used it. But you can also just tank hits as well, and focus on healing. The way that your HP is utilized as a resource in this game, so far, is really fascinating, and I haven't played many games like this. Friendly fire equals liberal use of HP as a resource. Sacrifice HP! Create Inferno! The tutorial needs work, but the developer is good at spotting where players need help, so I'm sure this will be improved in future builds. Hi, Cloaked. Like, considering, like, you know, you were there when I was going through it, you could totally see where I needed more advice. and you seem to be in really good contact with a lot of your playtesters, so I have faith that you're taking feedback to heart. Is it worth it? Currently the game is free, so of course it is. I won't speculate about the price point of the final game, or what it'll be worth, but it's definitely a game to keep your eye on. As it stands, if it was on the tier list, it's B tier all the way, of course. You know what needs to be done, you know if you have the strength of will to do it. Okay, jokes aside, I think if the game continues at the pace it is right now, we're looking at an A tier, maybe leaning toward S. I think a lot of what will determine whether it ends up going that high is going to depend on, like, story execution for me personally, but that is how much I'm enjoying the game right now. So we're gonna have to see in a couple of years, because when this game comes out, I am going to be dedicating many streams to playing this game. Really hope you get to finish the game then. I hope so too, I really do, because I am loving this game. Again, yes, if and when it comes out, I'm going to stream this game so much. I really love what you've done so far. I really do. I mean that genuinely. The story is getting started. There are so many important moments you want to be able to write. Yes, I could tell that there's a lot of story threads, and, like, dealing with topics of, like, religion is, like, a lot of people have religious trauma these days. I mean, probably always. Religion's kind of been divisive and often very controlling. So, you have a lot to work with. You have a lot to work with on a story basis, and I like the direction you're going with so far. Like, I can definitely see where Sonya has a lot of character growth, and I am fascinated to see where that goes. But that brings us to our final game of this season, which is The Gardener and the Wild Vines. So, got your fair share of religious trauma, just trying to scratch the surface to BH. Yeah. Alright, this game is $10. It's about 3 to 4 hours plus a challenge mode. You're actually not joking about dinner, you have to go now. Okay. Good night, Cloaked. This is the last game, so we're probably not gonna be live for too much longer. Enjoy your dinner! Alright. So this game is a 2D/2.5D platformer, because, like, you're platforming on a 2D surface in a 3D world, so it's a little bit difficult. Is it 2D? Is it 2.5? I don't know. But it's fast-paced action, and it's a comedy romance. Definitely. Pros, it's cute and sweet, funny, and it has a lot of fluid movement. Cons, platformers have a little bit of spawn RNG, I think, which varies the difficulty of levels. And the difficulty of the game starts to increase a lot near the end, and how it combats this is by having, frankly, a ridiculous amount of health drops, which, it's a lot. It's a lot. And that's certainly one way to tackle the problem, but I don't think it's the best way to tackle the problem. Gardener and the Wild Vines tackles a sort of platforming style I've never seen done before, where you can create more platforms, and the faster you react, the faster you can make them spawn. This makes movement very fast-paced and fun, and you're rewarded for your skill. The story is sweet and funny, while the art is well made and colorful. There are a couple of downsides, because when the platforms spawn there's a bit of RNG, and this does mean that sometimes you could get unlucky and have some very strange jumps. The game's hazards increase quite a bit as you progress through the game, sometimes leaving you with limited options or warning to dodge. How they end up countering it is by leaving health restoration items very frequently, sometimes having 2 to 4 visible on screen at a time. I feel like with more balance, they could have made the learning curve gentler, having less need for quite as many hearts, or embraced some essence of failure and allowed for more than a single checkpoint per level on some particularly hard parts of the game. Regardless, the game was still fun to play, and the added replay value / speedrun potential that challenge mode brings is a welcome sight. Is it worth it? I like it. It's a good place to spend your cash. Car driving by. Got a little distracted.
Let's have a drink.
Cheers! Anywho, I think this game is an easy A tier. Easy A tier. It's so funny. The characters are likable, and just all around, I had a good time with the game. And, like, yeah, I had a lot of fun with the platforming as well. I think, for the most part, enemies are well done. Because sometimes in platformers, enemies can be a little overbearing, or if the platforming is too complicated, it could get weird. But I think they did a good job. And the wind mechanics are also well done. Like, I talked about earlier, wind mechanics not being well done with Curse of the Crescent Isle, but I think they were pretty good in Gardener and the Wild Vines. For the most part. There's one section I didn't really like, but I think for most of the game, it can also add to the feeling of speed, which is really cool. Yeah, I like this game. I think they did a good job, and it's a crime that this game does not have a speedrun community. It is an absolute crime. Like, challenge mode even has, like, some speedrun goals, and also allows you to skip the story, so you don't have to, like, mash to get through cutscenes. So, like, they obviously had the approach of being able to speedrun this game in mind, and I have half a mind to speedrun this myself, because it's just that fun. I think it deserves it. It deserves it. Anywho, there's me having a small passionate rant. This game is fun, and I like it, and I think it's solidly in A tier. Now I get to sit back and take a look and see if there's anything I want to change. Gay out of 10. Gay out of 10. Yeah, gay out of 10. I think, okay, one thing I want to change is I think I did enjoy The Longest Road on Earth a little bit more than Fake Illusions. Oh my god. I think I did enjoy that a little bit more. Maybe I enjoyed Lofty Quest a little bit less than Theorem. Okay, I think that is a pretty solid lineup about how my feelings are. Like, one could argue that My Name is Human deserves to be in writer's jail. One could argue that, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I enjoyed it way too much to have it not be B tier, best tier. So I think that's my tier list. I'm gonna be sharing it in the Discord. And remember, in the pinned message, you can find this tier list as well. And you can go ahead and fill it out yourself, share it in the Discord, talk about, like, what games you liked watching, what kind of games you'd like to see me play in the future, and, like, yeah, do the survey. Fill out the survey. I take game recommendations on that survey, and it would mean a lot to me to hear feedback on this series, because I put a lot of work into it, and like, just feedback lets me know, like, where I can improve, and, you know, just what you guys actually liked about it. And just, yeah, in general, it's good to hear back from you guys, and it lets me know that I'm doing things right. Because I like knowing that. Yes. And it's also good to know which games that you guys like to watch, because when the games I like to play match up with the games that you guys like to watch, it leads to such a fun time all around. And
Let's have a drink.
cheers. Perfect amount of water for today. Perfect amount of water. Perfect. Already got BRB, you're gonna do it again. Of course you are, Pigeon, of course you are. You always provide feedback every time. And it thank you. But, yeah, there's the official tier list. And, just, yeah, I don't know exactly where to go from here. Next week is GDQ, and I regularly take GDQ off, and I think I'm probably going to do it again, so we might do some watch parties. Thank you, JK, for reminding me that those exist. So we might do some GDQ watch parties. I might just, in my spare time, do some speedrunning like I do, like, every 6 months, you know? Oh, yeah, we have a new episode of the podcast out tomorrow. That is true, Giggleclus. Yes, look at that. Funnily enough, in this podcast, we do joke about plugs. We do joke about the fact that my mom is better at plugs than me. You'd think I might be decent at them, having been streaming for almost 2 years now, but no. No. This is my podcast with my family. It's called Collab Not Multiplayer, where we play single-player games together, and our next episode is actually gonna be about Superliminal. So, if you don't know what Superliminal is, it is a puzzle game where perspective is everything, and we have a lot to say about it, so if you want to take a look at that, go ahead and click on that YouTube link, or you can find us on Spotify. Every single view helps us so much get discovered, and I really, really appreciate it. Speaking of, though, there's actually going to be another episode on my YouTube soon, so why don't you go ahead and check out my plugs. Nightbot. 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 There it is. I have a Patreon link where you can help me support my channel both financially. Well, my Patreon is where you support me financially. My YouTube is where you support me non-financially. It went. I didn't see it. I mean, like, it did on the second one for me. But my Patreon, if you donate money there, I get 95% of your donation, which is way better than Twitch's 50%. And my YouTube link is the best place to help me get discovered, because people are more likely to watch the stream if they've seen a little bit more of my content beforehand. And it means a lot, all the support that I've gotten with my past uploads. And we have a new one coming tomorrow as well, coinciding with the Superliminal video. Coincidence? I think not. Actually, I know not, because I'm putting out the video. Shh. Shh. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Why don't we go ahead and see who's live right now? Who is live right now? It's all coming together. Causality does not equal causation. Fair point, I guess. Fair point. Who is live right now? We've got, like, Stardew Valley, we've got Celeste, and we've got 6 people playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Still going strong a week later. So, yeah. One of the titles is Tears of the Kingdom is 105 hours considered a problem. Have you ever seen a Korok flying through the sky? Good job, it was really fun. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Mom, I'm glad. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this stream as well, because it's always a blast to put this together, although it takes a lot of work. I also want to thank all the developers who have transparent icons available for their games. because it really helps content creators like myself to promote these games. If a logo is provided, we can use it for thumbnails, we can use it for these tier list streams. It just really helps a lot to help spread the word of your game around. So I want to take a moment to thank all the creators who did provide the transparent logo, because it really cut down on the workload, not having to stop and cut out your logo. The seconds add up, they really do. Yeah, and yes, thank you as well to the devs who showed up. It was a blast to have you guys around and to hear your opinions about, like, the game, and yeah, it was great to see you. And if you're a developer and you made it this far in the VOD, I appreciate you as well. I understand that schedules can be a mess. So thank you as well for watching the VOD after the fact. How about, you know, it's been a while since we visited a giant geyser. I think we should. It has been a while. She's playing some Stardew Valley, so let's go ahead and give her some love. Here we go. Starting that raid. Here is the raid message. Go ahead and copy that. Put any emotes on the end of it. Any of them at all. Unfortunately, we cannot put the, we can't have the B tier emote be part of the raid message because I haven't switched it over from follower emotes yet. But that is going to be going in the rotation of our emotes, so that way, you can use it on other channels as well. It is going to become a subscriber emote, because honestly, I've been meaning to make it for a while. It's only fair that it gets made now. I've done most of my plugs already, so I just want to say another thing, that I want to thank you guys so much for watching My Tiny Game Tuesdays, because this series lets me play so many more games than just what is trendy, and the support that you guys give me doing this, it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the developers who made this game. And like, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I love you. Goodbye.